the 18-day Venice Carnival is fully underway with festivities lasting from January the 27th to February the 13th. Now, the year 2024 also marks the 700th anniversary of Marco Polo's death, prompting organizers to choose Ad Oriente, or To the Orient, in English, as the carnival's theme.
During the festival, the entire city of Venice will be transformed into a map, harking back to the medieval merchants' adventures in Asia.
And visitors will also be able to walk through the streets and reach squares animated by thematic light shows, music, and art.
The Venice Carnival kicked off on Saturday as thousands of international tourists and Venetians alike flocked to the main St. Mark's Square, alleys and canals in colorful costumes. This year's carnival opened with street shows across the lagoon city, which celebrate the young Venetian merchant Marco Polo, who ventured along the Silk Road to reach China in the 13th century.
The crowds have so much energy, everyone's excited, there's so many cool costumes, we're having such a fun time walking around, seeing all the food and the masks and the decorations.
The 2024 iteration of the Venice Carnival, which carries the theme To the East, the amazing journey of Marco Polo, pays homage to the city's greatest traveler in the 700th anniversary of his passing.
Marco Polo è un personaggio veneziano, figlio di Niccolò, è partito da giovanissimo per un viaggio incredibile che lo ha portato verso le strade d'Oriente, arrivando a conoscere popoli e culture e provando avventure e disavventure incredibili per l'epoca. Noi vogliamo rivivere questo racconto che poi lui ci ha tramandato attraverso il libro Il Milione e vogliamo farlo attraverso il sogno.
The Venice Carnival typically starts with a boat parade in the Grand Canal. The parade will involve about 100 boats in bright colors, with crews of Venetians rowing through the Grand Canal to the Rialto Bridge.
Now, guys, I don't know about you, but every time I go to, Europe or other countries outside of Indonesia, I'd have some of my friends DM me or WhatsApp me and ask me, like, hey, can you buy me that thing from over there? Because sometimes they're
Like
not for
souvenir?
sale.
Was it me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm more than happy to help you, man, especially if you want some basketball jerseys. But anyway, that happens a lot, and that's, as we know, that is called just tip. And in Indonesia, this is a popular online trend. Just tip, short for jasa titip, which essentially means asking someone to buy things on your behalf.
That's right. Now, among the various types of just tip services, sourcing fashion items from Bangkok, Thailand has in fact gained significant attention.
Yes, and this trend is currently thriving in Tanah Abang market, facilitated through a dedicated space called Little Bangkok.
There is an online trend in Indonesia where shoppers can engage resellers to purchase fashion items from Bangkok, Thailand. Known as just tip or jasa titip in Bahasa Indonesia, this trend has gained popularity. To accommodate this phenomenon, the managers of Tanah Abang Market has designated a space specifically for it. Since its opening on January 15th of this year, this space, dubbed Little Bangkok, offers an authentic shopping experience resembling that of Bangkok, albeit with the predominance of local products.
Kita cinta produk Indonesia. Jadi dominan produk lokal. Ya variasi, ada impor, ada yang dari Cina, ada yang dari Thailand. Jadi sekali lagi gaya berbelanjanya, gaya berdagangnya yang di Bangkok itu yang kita ciptakan, ambil terapkan di Metro Tanah Abang.
Located on the first floor of Tanah Abang Market, Little Bangkok boasts 80 stalls selling various fashion items, including bags and accessories. A seller at Little Bangkok mentioned that they aim to create a therapeutic shopping experience through a boutique concept.
Nah di Little Bangkok ini kita pengen bikin grosir tapi kayak butik. Jadi kayak pelanggan kalau mau just tip, mau online apa, tokonya udah pada bagus-bagus semua. Pajangannya juga bagus. Nah karena ini konsep baru dan viral, jadi mereka langsung datang ke tempat ini, belanja dan lihat sendiri. Apalagi kalau kita bilang kan shopping itu udah kayak terapi ya. Jadi lebih fresh kalau orang pegang sendiri bahannya gitu loh.
Apart from its unique concept, visitors can also enjoy other benefits such as competitive prices.
Kurang lebih sih, kayak baju-bajunya, terus kayak tas-tasnya gitu. Kayak udah mirip sama yang di Bangkok sih. Ya, harganya juga murah sih menurut saya.
Mengesankan sih, kayak memang kayak feel-nya tuh bener-bener rasanya di Bangkok banget sih. Kayak kiri kanan tuh semua ada jual baju.
Tempatnya bersih sih, lalu kayak store-store-nya juga pada bagus-bagus. Ya, lalu koridor jalannya juga enak. Jadi enak sih shoppingnya di sini.
The establishment of Little Bangkok comes amid challenges faced by sellers due to the shift towards e-commerce and changing business landscapes. Through its initiative, the managers of Tanah Abang Market strive to ensure its continuity for generations to come, preserving its legacy since its inception in the 18th century. Anita Putri and Ferry Ahmad for See Today.
Whoa.
It's a profitable
Are
business.
you guys interested for doing a just tip? Not from Bangkok, from Tanah Abang. You can sell it to Bangkok.
No, I have enough things to bring as it is in my luggage.
We can offer it to Fijitra.
That's right.
We have a friend in Bangkok, right? All right, let's continue for another story. This one is a craftsman who make lion costumes for lion dance performances, or barongsai in Sidoarjo, East Java, is recently flooded by purchase orders from all across Indonesia.
That's right. Orders have actually soared by 50% compared to last year. The upcoming Chinese New Year, or Imlek, has brought many blessings to barongsai craftsman Julius Sutiawan, who lives in Sidoarjo, East Java. And although Imlek is still 2 weeks away, he has already been flooded by purchase orders from many customers.
He said he is working on 20 to 30 lion costumes this year, alongside dragon costumes, which average to around 20 meters in length. He also makes other ornaments and equipment for lion dances, which is set to take place in many parts of Indonesia when the big day comes.
Julius usually need 2 to 3 weeks to make a set of lion costumes, which he sells for 4 to 5 million rupees. Meanwhile, dragon costumes, which span to around 20 meters long, are available for 8 million rupees.
Permintaan menjelang Imlek biasanya meningkat. Rame, banyak yang permintaan. Mungkin banyak show lah setelah pandemi. Kalau bahannya itu rotan pasti lokal dari Indonesia. Yang impor itu dari bulu, aksesorisnya, barongsainya. Karena lokal belum ada. Cuman yang bisa dibuat dari lokal itu ya mata, terus jenggot. Kalau bulu masih impor semua.
It reminds me of, have you guys ever done like paper mache?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember? Isn't it something like that? Because have you ever picked up a lion's head, a barongsai head? They're actually very light.
Oh,
Yeah.
It seems like they have some sort of wiring, and then you do some sort of paper mache on it, and then they paint it.
Oh, I see.
That's why it's very hard and sturdy and strong, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't actually know the process of making one, but it seems like, because I picked one up before. Yeah.
But it looks quite heavy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, because of the size, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it actually needs to be very light, because the ones that are really doing like
Because you have to move, right?
Yeah,
Jump
it needs
in.
to actually be
Yeah, they're like standing over each other's shoulders.
Yes,
Correct.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, yeah.
It's amazing. Can't wait to see. By the way, there's they usually start performing at malls around Jakarta.
Oh, yes, in South Jakarta, right?
look
Or
out for
in North Jakarta, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so hopefully this year will be festive celebrations of Chinese New Year. It's a year of dragon.
Year of the Dragon.
Wow.
Could be a good one.
All right.
All right, we're going to take a short break here on the program, but we have updates for you from Indonesia when we return here on the C Morning Show. Stay with us.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday.
marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick.
Point to Manado on this map. I'm horrible, I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
Berangkat aja dulu, kerjakan apa yang ada di depan kalian. Setidaknya kalian hari ini walaupun tidak mendapatkan uang, tapi kalian mendapatkan kesempatan.
Walaupun di awal-awal itu banyak sekali rintangan dan tantangan.
Kalian berproses aja dulu, jalan aja dulu. Kalau udah waktunya kalian untuk dapetin uang akan datang nyamperin kalian. Hal yang paling sangat utama untuk mengawali bisnis, ridho dan restu orang tua. Itu hal dan modal paling besar dalam mengawali usaha.
Ke Binjai mau migrasi.
Cakep.
Anjay, aku deport sih.
Ya, aku cuma mau bilang hari ini kamu tuh cantik loh.
Aduh ya Allah.
Oke lah kalau penampilan dia nggak sebaik itu, nggak sebagus itu, nggak seganteng itu, tapi itu hatinya dia sebaik itu dan tidak ada orang yang pernah gue temuin hatinya sebaik Mas.
Pemain.
Group of volunteers operating in the south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it's familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different than baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. We're going to kick off this local news segment with some fun updates as the Indonesian President Joko Widodo recently held a football match with the residents of Sleman in Yogyakarta despite the rain on Saturday afternoon.
The match was held to celebrate the Indonesian national team's achievement of qualifying to the round of 16 in the 2023 AFC's Asian Cup.
President Widodo held a football match with Sleman residents at the Gamblong Field in Moyudan on Saturday afternoon. The president played as a goalie or a keeper and conceded 2 goals. The president continued to play with enthusiasm despite the heavy rain.
Now, this match was held, of course, to celebrate the qualification of the Indonesian national team to the AFC Asian Cup round of 16. The president has also promised to award the national team a massive bonus should they manage to defeat Australia and move on to the next round.
Untuk menyambut masuknya timnas kita ke 16 besar Piala Asia, dan kita ingin memberikan semangat kepada rakyat untuk memberikan dukungan penuh. Besok bertandingnya antara Indonesia dan Australia. Kita harapkan kita mendapatkan poin dari sana sehingga bisa melaju ke babak berikutnya. Saya kira yang kedua, kita ingin dengan masyarakat gembira semuanya, juga untuk sekali lagi untuk memberikan dukungan kepada timnas kita.
Messi, I think you asking a very interesting question.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to ask again. If you're watching, or if you're playing a football match against the president, do you hold back or do you just go for it?
If I were 6 or below 6 years, I will just fight the president.
Yeah,
I don't
do
care.
your best.
I have to do my best.
I would go 50%. Just take a little something off the shot. Like, not too hard. Like, because it is an exhibition.
It is.
He's not wearing any shin guards.
Yeah,
so we've got to make sure that you don't hurt the president.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask the umbrellas man to.
Yeah, right.
Can you move over?
Yeah, out of the way there.
What about you?
Oh, I'd be scared. I think I'd just be like on the side, just cheering for the team. I don't want to take any chances because, you know, ideally, I wouldn't be. But I'm a really competitive guy, so when someone on the field, all of that gets thrown away.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want to take any chances. I wouldn't want to take the risk.
And I don't think the president wants to face a footballer named Messi anyway.
There you go. There you go.
No. All right, we still have more story, and this one, during his visit to West Kalimantan, Indonesian Army Chief of Staff General Maruli Simanjuntak promised to provide troops with more equipment and facilities to boost their professionalism.
He also said that he was proud of the chance to mingle with soldiers in the 12th Tanjung Pura Regional Military Command.
During his visit, General Maruli Simanjuntak took part in various activities alongside thousands of soldiers, as he was convinced that personnel should have close ties with their commanders.
As such, the Army Chief of Staff attempts to support activities which may help boost professionalism among soldiers. 12th Tanjung Pura Regional Military Commander Major General Iwan Setiawan said that he was proud and grateful of the chance to welcome the Indonesian Army Chief of Staff.
He also expressed hope that high morale and teamwork can convince the Army Chief of Staff that Tanjung Pura Regional Military Command personnel are united, solid, and can perform their duties to the best of their abilities.
Selesai saya kunjungan kerja di Tanjung Pura, saya lihat kegiatan-kegiatan mereka, apa kira-kira yang mungkin kita bisa support nantinya. Saya lihat kegiatan sudah baik, dan juga saya lihat moral anggota luar biasa. Mudah-mudahan ini bisa terus kita pelihara dan kita tingkatkan untuk pengabdiannya anggota kita di Tanjung Pura. Para anggota itu sebetulnya harus dekat dengan para komandannya, sehingga betul-betul mereka bisa, komandannya itu bisa jadi bapak, jadi kawan, jadi saudara, jadi orang tua, jadi guru. Jadi itu yang kita akan bangun kembali di tengah-tengah anggota.
Right, so Messi earlier mentioned that we're almost at the end of January, and when that happens, we'll only have exactly 2 weeks left before the upcoming general election. So let's now have a quick look in regards to some of the latest updates on the Indonesian general elections on Indonesia Votes 2024.
And we begin with presidential candidate on ballot box number 1, Anies Baswedan, who has promised to build a football stadium that would meet FIFA standards in Banda Aceh while campaigning in the Aceh province.
The campaign, which took place earlier today yesterday at the Murtala Lampinueng Stadium, Banda Aceh, was joined by thousands of Anies Muhaimin supporters who were also optimistic about their ambition.
And during his speech, the presidential candidate under ballot number 1 also called for reform of the region and would make this happen should he win the election.
Melanjutkan agar di Aceh ini nantinya ada stadion berstandar internasional. Stadion ini bagus, tapi belum standar internasional. Apakah perlu dibiarkan? Tidak. Perlu diubah? Setuju jadi stadion FIFA? Kita nanti lakukan itu. Bapak sekalian, perubahan ini kita kerjakan. Dan saya ingin sampaikan, saya bicara tentang ketidakadilan, bicara tentang kesetaraan bukan karena saya menjadi calon presiden. Saya, dari gambarnya.
Meanwhile, presidential candidate number 2, Prabowo Subianto, attended a declaration of support in Subang, West Java on Saturday morning.
He was welcomed by the leader of his campaign team, Ridwan Kamil.
While campaigning in Subang, Prabowo Subianto reminded everyone to pay more attention to ballot papers.
He made this advice since he is convinced that certain parties may attempt manipulation or other illegal measures during election day. He also asked his supporters to be more thorough and careful while voting.
Kita harus waspada karena kita dapat laporan ada niat-niat tidak baik dari kalangan-kalangan tertentu. Mereka katanya mau merusak surat-surat suara kalian. Jadi hati-hati, ya. Hati-hati, periksa surat suara dan awasi semua petugas. Jangan sampai ada surat suara yang dirusak. Itu berarti berkhianat kepada rakyat Indonesia.
Indonesian presidential candidate number 3, Ganjar Pranowo, attended a declaration of support as part of his campaign agenda at the Puriyabaya Field in Kuningan, West Java on Saturday.
He was greeted by dozens of his supporters at the Puriyabaya Field in Kuningan, West Java yesterday. He was welcomed by traditional dances and cultural performances, as well as warm cheers and applause from his supporters.
And during his speech, Ganjar addressed the importance of preserving West Javanese culture and traditions as part of regional identity. He also highlighted the importance of good manners and etiquette as character-building tools for a better nation.
Kalau milenial mereka punya intensitas yang cukup bagus dalam berkomunikasi dengan kelompok non-milenial, non-Gen Z. Apa itu? Mereka perhatian kepada soal petani. Mereka ingin membantu. Lalu mereka juga berbicara kepada dunia pendidikan. Menurut saya, anak-anak muda yang sangat peduli sama pendidikan ini membuat kita punya semangat yang tinggi bahwa iya, Indonesia akan lebih baik karena anak mudanya punya perhatian pada pendidikan. Dan tentu saja tadi ada calon guru yang dia berharap nasibnya agak dipikirkan. Maka ini bolak-balik saling mengisi, dunia pendidikannya bagus karena gurunya bagus. Maka perhatian kepada guru akan pendapatan yang bagus menjadi perhatian kita juga agar kelak kemudian bonus demografi bisa dikelola dengan sangat baik.
That was it, and we'll have another break, but when we return, we'll have more updates from around the world of entertainment when we return. Stay with us.
China Earthquake Network Center reported that the quake rocked the Ertupan County in Aksu Prefecture shortly after 2 a.m. local time.
Minister January Makamba was a guest in one of our news programs, a 3-hour news show yesterday. While he was in the studio, he used the opportunity to explain the current state of diplomatic ties between Tanzania and Indonesia.
Indonesian Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi addressed the UN Security Council during an open debate in New York.
Ini adalah open debate Dewan Keamanan PBB ketiga mengenai Gaza dalam 3 bulan terakhir dan Indonesia hadir di ketiganya.
Indonesian Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi addressed the UN Security Council during an open debate in New York.
Ini adalah open debate Dewan Keamanan PBB ketiga mengenai Gaza dalam 3 bulan terakhir dan Indonesia hadir di ketiganya.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia itu bergelombol menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different than baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, and this is entertainment segments, and we're ready to bring you some entertainment updates, right?
Yes, we are. We begin with the Korean industry, the Korean entertainment industry, which announced in early January with the latest movie with a mystery thriller genre titled Exuma. So let's take a look.
All right. So, Exuma is an occult mystery movie unraveling odd events involving multiple characters. There are two young shamans, an undertaker, and a feng shui master. They wish to excavate and move an enigmatic grace in exchange for hefty sums of money. Complicated.
They're very dedicated, and that's always a bad sign, isn't it? You know, starring Choi Min-sik, Kim Go-eun, Yoo Hae-jin, and Lee Do-hyun, the movie is set to hit the Indonesian cinemas on February the 28th, right at the end of the month, next month. Directed by Jung Jae-hyun, the movie has received an invitation to the prestigious 74th Berlin International Film Festival.
Interesting. It's quite complicated, the plot, but the story, should be. I think it's worth to watch.
I think so. It's always these horror thrill films where they do something that they shouldn't. You know, like they take a cursed thingy, or they take a cursed item from underground, and they try to sell it, and that's when the ghosts come in.
And I always wonder, in any horror movie, you know, there is related to shamans. Yeah. Because, you know, some beliefs and local story and everything, I think it's very interesting. Urban legend.
Do you like to watch horror films often?
I like it, especially from Asia. Asia-made horror film, because especially with the story background of urban legend kind of background story, because it's very interesting, so you can learn about other cultures.
Yeah, and I have to say, like with at least from the Asian horror films that I like to watch, they the characters like act like actual human beings. You know, they're not just, you know,
like in fantasy.
Exactly. They're not just making, you know, I'm not gonna say, you know, dumb, but dumb decisions for the sake of like the plot, but actually like they're being humans. Like, how do you? They're not like they're making sense.
Exactly.
Their decision making is making sense.
They're not exaggerating it.
Exactly.
But still, you know, that is a movie, so I'm curious about that.
There you go.
We'll see about that.
So if you want to look forward to a Korean horror film, Exuma is the film for you. But if you're looking for a sort of more historical film, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, which was released last year, has set a cinematic release date finally in Japan, despite public criticism surrounding the sensitive subject matter of the film.
The movie was released by Universal in most territories in July and went on to gross over $950 million at the global box office. But Toha Toa, which handles most Universal titles in Japan, did not release the movie.
We've got one hope.
However, in December, it was reported that the indie film distributor Peterson would give the movie a theatrical release in the country and is set to release on March the 29th.
We push that button.
On social media, Peter Sand said that the decision was made following months of thoughtful dialogue associated with the subject matters and acknowledging the particular sensitivity for Japanese people. They invite the audience to watch the film with their own eyes when it comes to Japan.
Remember this day.
Peter Sand has a history of working awards contenders. Other Universal titles it has released in Japan, including Darkest Hour and Licorice Pizza.
Until somebody builds a bigger one.
Wow. Do you like Oppenheimer?
I did. I enjoyed it. It was very. It was kind of peak Nolan, wasn't it? The cinematography, the sound, the music, and the story was just pure Nolan at his very best. But this time with a historical film.
True.
Yeah.
True.
What did you think of it?
Since I love historical films and story as well, so I think, and it's made by Christopher Nolan, I think at first I thought it's gonna be a very complicated and so hard to follow, but then when I watched this, oh my God, it's very interesting and quite entertaining. Yet for some people, it's triggering because of the story and everything. So, but overall, I can say that I agree that this is the most fun and very light film from Christopher Nolan. He bring a very tough and hard story to create a movie, something like that, because it changed the world, right?
Yeah,
from the history.
It's one of the turning points of history in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
It's
but the things that I love is all the character, all the cast, even though we saw cameos, right?
Yeah, we did.
Even though they only play one scene or two scenes, they nailed it. Everything, all the aspect, all the elements was amazing.
Yeah.
For me, that is the point.
That's true.
All right, let's move on. It's from music scenes. The Dutch disc jockey Tiesto has been announced as the first ever DJ to play in game during the Super Bowl 58.
Indeed, he will be headed to the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas next month and is set to perform as part of the event on February the 11th.
As well as being set to perform to the thousands of fans at the stadium during the warm-up for this sports event, Tiesto will also remain in place to play brief sets during the breaks featured within the game.
While the upcoming installment makes him the 5th DJ to be hired to play before the game after DJ Khaled, D-Nice, Zed, and DJ Snake, he will also be the first to be allowed to play throughout the duration of the game.
In addition to Tiesto, this year's game will feature Usher rocking the halftime show, as well as Reba McEntire singing the national anthem during the pregame, which will also host by Post Malone during America the Beautiful, and Andra Day singing live Every Voice and Sing. Wow, it's gonna mix a genre. That
it's good. It's a
they will have Usher from R&B scene, and then Post Malone, rapper,
rap,
and Tiesto, very trance music.
Very
trance DJ, right?
He's the kind of guy to play in like those raves.
Wow. Have you watched the halftime Super Bowl previously?
Not in person. Not in person, no. But I do like to watch the halftime show because it's almost like the highlight.
I know.
Of the show. It's almost kind of like
waiting for the who's gonna play, who's gonna perform.
Exactly. And artists almost consider it to be like the peak of their artistry sometimes, because to perform at a halftime show is, I mean, you have millions of people watching your performance.
For 15 minutes.
For 15 minutes, and you can basically make like a medley of all your hits, things like that. Kind of like an introduction into your music.
Exactly.
So,
I think I have like a few bests of halftime.
Go on then.
The Shakira and Beyonce.
Oh, that was so
amazing.
Good.
And Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg.
They bring the 90s rap and hip hop.
Oh yeah,
remember?
I remember
Busta
that.
Rhymes
I remember that. That was so good.
Rihanna
that was
as well.
Super cool.
Amazing, right? And then one of my favorite was, I think that's it.
Okay.
3 favorite.
Okay. I had I think the one that was most memorable to me, was the one where there was Bruno Mars.
Oh yeah.
And there was Beyonce, and Chris Martin.
Yeah. I don't. The clip, it's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, that was them when there was 3 of them, and there was also another one when it was with Bruno Mars and the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh,
that
I remember.
Good.
Yeah. They always bring like big things.
Yeah, they do.
Not to not the not the young artists or musicians, but they bring like a legendary
Exactly.
to they give like salutation and everything. Oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the Super Bowl halftime show, and the beauty of the Super Bowl, because it's 2 of the biggest NFL sports teams battling it out to become the champion as well. So it's a really big show. I recommend if you like watching football, or if you like watching sports in general, and if you like watching,
through the social media.
Through social media, yes. Actually, speaking of social media,
through social media.
That's a good idea. Speaking of social media, what was the first ever social media you have used?
Friendster.
Friendster?
What about you?
Facebook. I'm not gonna lie.
I was using Friendster.
But speaking of Friendster, the first ever social media that you used, the social media platform Friendster, which gained popularity in the early 2000s, is about to make a comeback. So let's take a look at that.
I'm not happy with this. So in its early days, Friendster quickly garnered 3 million users, and at its peak, it had 115 million users. Mostly from Asia, including Indonesia, of course.
There you go, and Shafira is one of them. Friendster's unique feature of testimonials allowed users to send impressions and messages similar to comments on modern social media sites.
Right. In 2009, Friendster transformed into a social gaming website in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and was eventually shut down in 2015 after being acquired by AOL Global in 2011.
But now, Friendster is gearing up to launch a new feature, promising a modern touch, although the exact details are currently unclear.
I wonder, because now we are invaded by TikTok with a very high and very speedy kind of social media. Because, people are, now the trend is more into videos, right?
Yeah.
Like 15 seconds, 20 max, or 30 max. But with Friendster, I don't know, back then, I love to see people share the photos.
Right, okay.
And read the comments. I think we love that, right?
Yeah, we did a lot. We did leave that a little bit, although there's some aspects of that in Instagram, but it's not as not as prominent as, it's definitely not present in TikTok as much, because it's a lot more like virality kind of thing. That's what TikTok focuses on, right? Whereas Instagram's a little bit more community.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I love Facebook already.
Yeah.
What about Friendster? I wonder.
What do you want? Okay, so for example, if you were to rejoin Friendster when it relaunches, what would you like to see in Friendster?
Maybe I don't know, all the social media basically offering the same.
Okay.
Like you are connecting to people, you can basically chat with them, video chat, even you can live show, you can sell everything. What else? I don't know. Probably you can feature in a 3D.
Oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
Why
yeah, that'd be very
We
interesting.
need more high-tech features on social media. It can make the social media scenes more interesting. Or, I don't know, some kind like that. What about you? What do you think?
I mean, I like the idea of, I like your idea of having like 3D kind of virtual reality kind of deal where you can kind of meet with people virtually, but also in a way that you can almost see them.
Right.
But I remember Facebook or Meta tried that with their chat message earlier, and I'm not sure how well that went, but it came out well during the pandemic as well, didn't it? So I think maybe that had some aspects of it too. I don't know. I can't imagine what Friendster would need.
Exactly, right?
It's hard.
All right.
Like we have
just
everything.
wait. Don't guess anything.
Indeed.
Let's be surprised.
Yes, let's be surprised. Let's find out. And while we wait for the updates on Friendster, after a quick break, we're going to have Paul set to bring you some sports updates. So stay tuned with us on the C Show, only on C Today.
We have more business updates right here from our nation, where the Association of Indonesian Automotive Manufacturers, or GAIKINDO,
reported that over 1 million vehicles were sold in Indonesia last year.
The Indonesian government has announced plans to allocate around 4.8 billion rupiah for this year's pre-employment program.
Now, the program aims to help boost economic recovery, especially for those affected by COVID-related layoffs.
The Indonesian government is once again providing food aid in the form of rice reserves to support the public amid higher prices of the commodity in the market.
Stok bulog sekarang ini alhamdulillah masih pada posisi yang baik. Masih 1,4 juta ton.
China has been racing against time for rescue and disaster relief work after a landslide on Monday struck a mountainous village in southwest China's Yunnan province.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick. Point to Manado on this map. I'm horrible, I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulisnya.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
Berangkat aja dulu, kerjakan apa yang ada di depan kalian. Setidaknya kalian hari ini walaupun tidak mendapatkan uang, tapi kalian mendapatkan kesempatan.
Walaupun di awal-awal itu banyak sekali rintangan dan tantangan.
Kalian berproses aja dulu, jalan aja dulu. Kalau udah waktunya kalian untuk dapetin uang akan datang nyamperin kalian. Hal yang paling sangat utama untuk mengawali bisnis, ridho dan restu orang tua. Itu hal dan modal paling besar dalam mengawali usaha.
Ke Binjai mau migrasi.
Cakep.
Anjay, aku depotsi.
Ya, aku cuma mau bilang hari ini kamu tuh cantik loh.
Aduh ya Allah.
Oke lah kalau penampilan dia nggak sebaik itu, nggak sebagus itu, nggak seganteng itu, tapi itu hatinya dia sebaik itu dan tidak ada orang yang pernah gue temuin hatinya sebaik Mas.
Pemain.
Hi everyone, welcome back. You're still with us here on the C Morning Show. It is 6:45 in the a.m. and it's time for your first sports update of this Sunday morning. We begin from the world of badminton, where 4 Indonesian shuttlers, including men's singles player Anthony Sinisuka Ginting, competed in the semifinals of the 2024 Indonesia Masters on Saturday.
Indonesian men's shuttler Anthony Ginting failed to advance to the finals after he was defeated by Canada's Brian Yang at the Indonesian Masters 2024 in Istora Senayan on Saturday. The world's 4th-ranked Ginting performed well in the first game, earning massive cheers from the audience. However, Yang fought back in the second game, taking advantage of the momentum when Ginting's strikes hit the net several times. Ginting then lost from the world's number 24 after a tight rubber set 21-13, 17-21, 19-21.
Dari yang mungkin awalnya dia servis pendek atau saya udah ada strategi, udah ada persiapan harus gimana-gimananya dari awal mungkin udah terbiasa gitu. Nah waktu dia ada perubahannya itu yang saya bilang tadi berarti saya juga harus ada perubahan juga, atau ya udah nothing tulus aja, nekat aja gitu. Nah itu tadi yang saya rasa masih samar-samar gitu, jadi nggak tetap gitu pikirannya.
Yang will face Denmark's Anders Antonsen in the final. Antonsen defeated Thailand's Kunlavut Vititsarn by a large gap, 21-14, 21-8. Meanwhile, Indonesians women double Lanitria Mayasari and Ripka Sugiarto also failed to advance to the final round. The pair lost against Liu Shengshu Tanning with score 14-21, 11-21. Indira Putri and Reza Anindita reporting for See Today.
We've got more racket sports updates as we shift our focus to some tennis news now, where Aryna Sabalenka defended her Australian Open title from first-timer Zheng Qinwen and won 6-3, 6-2 during Saturday's women's singles final. The world number 2 lifted her first Grand Slam trophy at Melbourne Park 12 months ago and has been untouchable this past fortnight. She did not drop a single set in 7 matches and defeated Zheng 6-3, 6-2 in the finals to become the first player since Victoria Azarenka to claim back-to-back titles 11 years ago. On the opposing side, Zheng did not face a top 50 player through the first 6 rounds and was hoping that she could emulate Li Na to claim the title for China. Sabalenka wrapped up victory in just 76 minutes despite a brief disruption from pro-Palestine protesters. Meanwhile, Zheng was the first player to reach a slam final without facing a seeded opponent this century. In addition, the low rankings of her opponents made it a huge step up. Sabalenka has ridden emotional highs and lows throughout her career, and she could have more than one slam title in 2023 had she not lost to Karolina Muchova, Ons Jabeur, and Coco Gauff. The latter came in the U.S. Open final after Sabalenka dominated the first set. However, she has consistently performed well in this year's competition and claimed a much-needed win over Coco Gauff during the semifinal round. Moving on, still from the Australian Open, where top-seeded Renata Jamrichova claimed the junior girls singles title, while Japan's Rei Sakamoto beat Jan Kumstad of the Czech Republic to win the junior men's title. Jamrichova claimed the title after defeating 15-year-old Emerson Jones 6-4, 6-1 on Saturday. She made 6 aces and saved 5 of 6 breakpoints to clinch her first Grand Slam singles title in just over an hour. The 16-year-old Slovakian also enjoyed relative success last year as she won the junior doubles title at Melbourne Park and went on to the semifinals of the juniors tournaments in Wimbledon and the U.S. Open. Meanwhile, 4th-seeded Rei Sakamoto rallied from a set down to beat Jan Kumstad 3-6, 7-6, and 7-5 to win the Australian Open Junior Boys Singles title on Saturday. The 17-year-old had to withstand 25 aces from his big-serving Czech opponent. Nonetheless, he found a way to reclaim momentum after losing the first set to win the title in 2 hours and 11 minutes. Sakamoto is now the second Japanese player to win a junior boys Grand Slam Singles Cup after Shintaro Mochizuki did it back in 2019 during the Wimbledon tournament. One more big match coming up from the Australian Open before the tournament wraps up, which is the men's singles. Yes, a giant finals coming up as number 3-seeded Daniil Medvedev will be taking on number 4-seeded Jannik Sinner, which is for the first time since 2005 does not feature either Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, or Roger Federer. Neither finalist has ever won the Australian Open, so it looks like we're going to have a first-time winner here on the men's side. Now, Sinner, a 22-year-old from Italy, defeated top-seeded Djokovic to reach his first Grand Slam final, breaking the 10-time champion's unbeaten streak in the Australian Open semifinals. Sinner is also the youngest player in the final since Djokovic won his first title in 2008. Meanwhile, Russian star Daniil Medvedev defeated number 6 Alexander Zverev and will be playing in his 6th Grand Slam final and 3rd Australia Open final over the past 4 years. In last year's final, if you remember, Djokovic won his 4th Australian Open title over a span of 5 seasons and his 10th overall. He did not compete in the 2022 Australian Open after he was deported because he was not vaccinated against COVID-19. And at the time, the victory marked his 22nd career Grand Slam, which had tied Nadal for most in men's tennis history, a mark that he has since surpassed. And in the 2023 Australian Open final, it was Djokovic who toppled Stefanos Tsitsipas. Now, Medvedev has a 6-3 head-to-head record against Sinner, although Sinner has won their last 3 matchups. And the prize pool for the Australian Open has increased to a record $10 million, which is a 13% increase from last year. The winners of the men's and women's singles will each receive 3.15 million Australian dollars, while the runner-up will net 1.725 million. We will share with you the highlights and the results of the men's singles finals tomorrow morning on our sports update. In the meantime, from tennis, let's turn our attention now to some football updates, as Joao Pedro's hat-trick sent Brighton through to the FA Cup round of 16 as the club confidently beat Sheffield United 5-2. Meanwhile, non-league side Maidstone pulled one of the greatest upsets in the FA Cup as they defeated Ipswich Town.
Joao Pedro's hat-trick sent Brighton through the 5th round of the FA Cup as the club beats Sheffield United 5-2. Pedro scored twice from the spot and sent an 18-yard drive after Facundo Buonanote's fine goal launched the Seagulls into an early lead. Meanwhile, Danny Welbeck scored the winning goal just near the final whistle. Although the Blades battled back from 2-0 down, it was not enough. Both sides were beaten semi-finalists last year's competitions, but it is Roberto De Zerbi's side who dreams on another cup run, while Sheffield focuses on trying to avoid relegation in the Premier League. Meanwhile, non-league side Maidstone pulled off one of the greatest upsets in the FA Cup, when Sam Corn downed Ipswich Town with a 66-minute winner in the 4th round on Saturday. Corn had been the hero in the round 3 against Stevenage and further etches his name into Stone's folklore with a fine second-half finish to send George Elokobi's National League South side into the 5th round of the competition. Goalkeeper Lucas Govelan made a string of saves before Lamar Reynolds executed a lob that opened the scoring for Maidstone at the 43rd minute. Although Jeremy Sarmiento leveled for Ipswich, at the start of the second half, it was not enough to save the Sky Bet Championship club from defeat, since Scorn netted the winning goal with 24 minutes left. The 6th-tier side can now continue their fairy tale run in the competition.
And in other football news, Manchester United manager Erik ten Hag paid tribute to his Liverpudlian counterpart Jurgen Klopp on Friday, as the latter has announced that he'll be leaving Anfield at the end of the season. Meanwhile, Manchester City's head coach Pep Guardiola jokingly said that he will now sleep better, that his best rival will be out of the league after almost 9 years in charge. Jurgen Klopp has announced his resignation as Liverpool manager at the end of this season. In his 8.5 years in charge, he has led Liverpool to a Champions League title and a Premier League championship, as he has been there since October of 2015. He said on Friday that he is retiring since he is running out of energy.
I will sleep better. The days, the games before play against Liverpool always was almost a nightmare. So of course we'll be missed. So it was shock, like I think everyone, to the news. So I felt when I'm in the news, a part of Man City we will lose something. We cannot define our period here together without him. We cannot define our period without Liverpool. It's impossible. Have been our bigger rival. Personally, have been the best rival I ever had in my life, in Dortmund when I was in Bayern, and here. I think the Premier League are going to miss him.
Oh, it's no good for the Premier League. So he has made an era there. He built the club. He brought the club back, I think, where they belong. So congratulations on that. You have done an amazing job in Liverpool. I can understand that, yeah. That 9 years is a long time. Yeah. And I think it's a period by building up, achieving targets, but also I think with setbacks and going into difficult periods.
Klopp ist natürlich einer der allerbesten Trainer auf der Welt und hat es immer geschafft, den ganzen Verein immer an all seinen Stationen auf unglaubliche Art und Weise zu beeinflussen. Mainz, Dortmund und jetzt Liverpool, das ist einfach eine Einheit. Ich habe das ja selber dann auch noch in England miterlebt und ja, das ist schon eine Hammermeldung erstmal und das verdauen.
Meanwhile, in the aftermath of this latest announcement, Bayer Leverkusen head coach Xabi Alonso said on Friday that he is not considering the option to become Liverpool's next manager and insisted that Germany is already the perfect fit for him. The former Reds midfielder is one of the early frontrunners to replace Jurgen Klopp in Anfield after the German announced that he will be leaving the club at the end of the season. Alonso, who also enjoyed great success with Liverpool, is now making a name for himself as one of Europe's top coaches. This follows his success in guiding Leverkusen to a 4-point lead at the top of Bundesliga.
It was a surprise, but as well, you know, I have huge respect for Jurgen, huge admiration. Before coming to Liverpool and during his year, it has even been bigger and it has grown. No, the way what he has achieved and the way he has achieved that. And at the moment, I am really happy here. I am enjoying my work here. I am feeling that each day it's a challenge. Each game is a challenge, and we are in an intense but a beautiful journey here in Leverkusen, and I am trying to give my best to help my players be ready for the next thing, and that's my goal. What will come in next one, I don't know.
All right, well, we'll keep you posted as to the latest developments in regard to Liverpool. In the meantime, though, let's move on to some basketball news from the NBA as Luka Doncic scored a franchise record 73 points, tied for the 4th most in NBA history, and surpassed only by Wilt Chamberlain and Kobe Bryant to power the Mavericks to a 148-143 victory over the Atlanta Hawks on Friday night. Let's check out the highlights. Doncic blew past his personal best and team record of 60 points after scoring a team record 41 points in the first half alone. His record night came only 4 days after Philadelphia's Joel Embiid scored a franchise record 70 points, then the most in the NBA this season, in the 76ers' 133-123 win over San Antonio on Monday night. A three-point play with 3 minutes remaining gave Doncic 70 points to tie Joel Embiid. And with Dallas leading 140-136, Doncic added another three-point play to cap his night. Against the team that drafted him in 2018, Doncic joined Chamberlain and David Thompson among players who scored 73 points. Wilt the Stilt Chamberlain, who owns the NBA record with 100 points scored, also had a 78-point game, while Kobe Bryant finished with 81 points against the Toronto Raptors on January the 22nd, 2006. The Mavericks rode Doncic's big game to end their 3-game losing streak, while also handing the Hawks their 4th straight loss.
Daylight over Chicago.
We've been struggling lately. Mindset was get a win. We play great. We struggle a little bit on defense, but we play great offense.
Was there a point in tonight's game where you knew this was a special one for you?
No, I was just going, you know, whatever the defense give me. In the second half, they double me all the time, so I tried to make some plays. Then sometimes I would just break the double. So just seeing the game. Probably on the top, one of the top, you know. But yeah, I'm glad we got a win.
And now you can catch a breath. Thank you, Luka.
Thank you.
Two things for Doncic to be happy about: the win and the record-breaking scoring performance. Now, his previous 60 was scored against the New York Knicks last season. Doncic was truly brilliant in this one, showing off his entire arsenal. He made 7 of 20 attempts from field goal range, two-point field goal range. He made 8 of 13 from beyond the arc, and he was an almost perfect 15 of 16 from the free throw line. He was a total 25 of 33 from the floor. Only Wilt Chamberlain and Kobe Bryant have ever scored more in a game. Doncic actually once told Eurohoops back in 2019 that it was actually easier to score in the NBA due to the larger courts and the 3-second rule. And last night was a fantastic example of that. The Hawks showed him far too few looks and allowed Doncic to play the entire game in flow, despite the Mavericks playing without Kyrie Irving. Now, in the Mavericks' previous game, Doncic took some deserved heat for his performance and for an argument with a fan. He also argued with the referees far too much. He apologized on that day and said that he would do better. And better would be an understatement. This game was as close to offensive perfection as a player is likely to have on anything resembling this volume of shooting. He had multiple highlight reel passes that would have led to this performance being a triple-double if his teammates were able to convert on some of those shots. Now, most importantly, though, he stayed away from arguing with the referees for the most part. He only had one real argument, which he actually won, when what he asked for was granted, which was continuation on the shot. Now, this was the perfect response to one of the rare down moments of his career, and what's scary is that he's still quite young and will only continue to get better and better. More updates from the NBA now as the San Antonio Spurs returned to get their 4th win in January after defeating the lowly Portland Trail Blazers 116-100 at the AT&T Center. Jeremy Sohan notched 31 points and 14 rebounds, while Victor Wembanyama added 23 points and 12 rebounds as the San Antonio Spurs held off the Portland Trail Blazers 116-100. Keldon Johnson added 21 points, while Devin Vassell scored 15 for San Antonio. The Spurs have also now claimed their 4th consecutive win in January, which also improves their record to 9-36. Now, on the opposing side, Anthony Simons scored 40 points, while DeAndre Ayton added 20 points and 12 rebounds for Portland. The Trail Blazers have also lost 3 of their last 4 games and puts them at a record of 13-32 on the season. Although Simons netted 16 points in the 4th quarter, it was not enough to help Portland overcome their double-digit deficit. Now, obviously, Wembanyama continues to impress us all. There's a reason why so many NBA teams, including the Portland Trail Blazers, look to do whatever they could to increase their odds of getting the top overall pick in this past year's draft. The Spurs rookie has lived up to the hype. His impact on the game was made immediately clear with a pair of blocks over a 30-second sequence, even in the opening minutes of this game. He also drew considerable defensive coverage as the Blazers seemed determined not to let the rookie defeat them. Wembanyama ended up just 7 of 18 from the field, and he did have 7 turnovers, but he still found a way to turn in a quality effort with his 23 points and 12 rebounds. He also notched 4 assists and 2 steals, along with a couple of blocks. He also connected on a trio of three-pointers, which has been one of the few struggles to begin his NBA career. In addition, his mere presence allowed for complementary players such as Jeremy Sohan and Keldon Johnson to flourish against a defense that is designed to actually slow down Wemby. Meanwhile, Portland's offense was a disaster for much of the night outside of the 2-man game of Simons and Ayton, where they found success on their pick and roll. It did not help that veteran point guard Malcolm Brogdon missed another game due to injury. Jeremy Grant and Scoot Henderson both departed early in the game with injuries of their own. Turnovers did plague Portland in the first half, and the team was ice-cold shooting the ball for much of the second half outside of a hot stretch from Simons near the end of the 4th quarter. By that point, the outcome had already been decided. Portland had shot 3 of 22 from beyond the arc, outside of Simons, who was 7 of 15. And defensively, the Blazers had led points in the paint all night long. Keldon Johnson did attack the rim. He finished with 21 points on an efficient 9 of 15 from the field, with almost all of his damage coming from inside the paint. San Antonio dominated the glass as well. They out-rebounded Portland 59-37. Johnson had 16 on his own, including 8 of the 17 offensive rebounds that the Spurs pulled down as a team. And while the Spurs shot less than 30% from 3 on the night, they were able to come up with timely baskets time and time again to help quell any scoring outbursts from Simons and stop momentum from swinging too far in Portland's direction, particularly down the stretch. And that last sports update brings us to the end of this particular segment. But please do stay tuned because we have more sports coming up as we will be previewing the upcoming AFC Asian Cup round of 16 matchup between Indonesia and Australia only on Sports Talk. Stay tuned.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick. Point to Manado on the smash. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulis.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
Berangkat aja dulu, kerjakan apa yang ada di depan kalian. Setidaknya kalian hari ini walaupun tidak mendapatkan uang, tapi kalian mendapatkan kesempatan.
Walaupun di awal-awal itu banyak sekali rintangan dan tantangan.
Kalian berproses aja dulu, jalan aja dulu. Kalau udah waktunya kalian untuk dapetin uang akan datang nyamperin kalian. Hal yang paling sangat utama untuk mengawali bisnis, ridho dan restu orang tua. Itu hal dan modal paling besar dalam mengawali usaha.
Ke Binjai mau migrasi.
Cakep.
Anjay, aku deportasi.
Ya aku cuma mau bilang hari ini kamu tuh cantik loh.
Aduh ya Allah. Oke lah kalau penampilan dia nggak sebaik itu, nggak sebagus itu, nggak seganteng itu, tapi itu hatinya dia sebaik itu dan tidak ada orang yang pernah gue temuin hatinya sebaik Mas.
Pemain.
Group of volunteers operating in the south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone, and this is Sports Talk. Today, we are going to highlight the 2023 AFC Asian Cup as Indonesia has made history by qualifying for the round of 16. Now, the Garuda squad is now preparing to face Australia. That match will kick off later on tonight. Let's first take a look at both sides and how they are preparing for the clash.
The Indonesian national football team are preparing for the round of 16 at the 2023 AFC Asian Cup at the Egla Training Center facility in Doha, Qatar on Saturday. They will take on Australia, a first-time encounter at the tournament. Indonesia have qualified for the knockout rounds for the first time ever. They will be locking horns with a team that ranks more than 100 places above them in the FIFA rankings. It will be a David versus Goliath battle, and Indonesia's South Korean coach, Shin Tae-yong, will be keen to drill some spirit in his players. Meanwhile, the Australian national team are also making preparations to face Indonesia. This is the squad's 5th appearance at the finals of the competition, and they booked their place in the knockout stage as Group B winners with 2 wins and 1 draw. Australia were without top scorer Mitchell Duke on the 3rd match day of Group B against Uzbekistan. Duke suffered a hamstring injury in the 1-0 win over Syria and was replaced by Bruno Fornaroli. In football history, Indonesia won against Australia 1-0 at the 1981 FIFA World Cup.
All right, now to discuss more about Indonesia's chances against Australia, let's welcome back today's guest, who is a football analyst from Ruang Taktik, Yusuf Raihan. Mas Raihan, I always say it's a pleasure to see you, because when you're here, it means Indonesia is still in the tournament. Before we get into the meat of the discussion, which is the upcoming match, obviously, between Indonesia and Australia, let's first go over the last match that Indonesia played, which was against Japan. Obviously, that came at a loss, but we still went through anyway because of how we finished in 3rd. But how did you think Indonesia played according to Coach Shin Tae-yong's directions from the start? Was it according to plan? What was your take?
Yeah, I think it was a commendable performance. Okay. If I must say about them, about our boys in red and white colors.
Decent first half? Yeah,
decent first half. Though, you know, it didn't start off really well with the penalty that Jordi Amat gave away in like the first couple of minutes.
Right. So put ourselves in a hole right from the start.
Yeah, it all went out the window in that like first 5 minutes. But obviously the response to that was really, as I said before, commendable. I think they deserve praise from their performance. And yeah, although it was a loss, but it was still a really decent performance on the pitch against the Japan team, who is probably the strongest team in Asia.
Yeah.
And a 3-1 loss isn't really that bad if you compare the quality between these two national teams. And yeah, even though it was not really, the offensive performances wasn't really that good, because we only mustered up like I think a single shot on target.
Right.
But it was, obviously playing against Japan, it would be really difficult. Even anyone,
I think part of the reason is because if Japan had already guaranteed themselves a spot, they probably wouldn't even have put in their full effort, or perhaps even taking a couple of their players off to rest and rotate some players. But because their backs were up against the wall as well, we faced a Japanese team that was coming at us like full force.
Yeah, obviously that played into the factor as well. And yeah, I think it wasn't the worst of performances as well. We scored a goal from the long throw. Sandy Walsh getting his first goal for Indonesian national team, and that was a nice moment. That was a really good moment to watch.
Definitely so. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Australia. They actually finished first in Group B with 7 points. What do you think so far of Australia's performance in the group stage, as they actually won 2 matches and they had a tie against Uzbekistan?
Yeah, I think that they are still showing that they are one of the strongest teams in Asia, but they are not as strong as they used to be, like in the Tim Cahill days or Mark Viduka days. They are probably still one of the top 5 teams in Asia, but they're not as good as Japan or maybe Qatar or maybe even South Korea, who isn't actually playing their best football in this tournament. But they are solid defensively. They have amassed 2 clean sheets in this tournament, and they are, I think one thing that is right to describe them is they are physical. They have physicality all over the pitch, from the forward line to the defensive line. I think that is going to play a huge part in this tournament, especially in this game against Indonesia, where we might struggle aerially or physically against this Australia team. But they are not as strong as Japan. Maybe technically they are not as excellent as Japan in tight spaces. So I think that we might actually find it easier to play against Australia than against Japan in the game before. So
Securing a win. I know you want to say securing a win, but hey, it is do or die.
Yeah.
So we do have to get a victory out of this.
So
one.
yeah, I think we can be cautiously optimistic playing against this Australia team.
I like that word, actually. So, speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about matchups. In your opinion, what strategy is Coach Shin Tae-yong going to use against the Socceroos? Like, do you think Shane Patinama is going to actually even take the pitch?
So, yeah, I think that before going into Indonesia's strategy, I want to highlight, or I want to go into Australia's game plan. So here, this is Australia in attacking phase. So what we're going to see here is that I think Graham Arnold has taken a leaf out of Ange Postecoglou's notebook. So here you can see that this is a fullback who is coming inside. So you would usually find a traditional fullback going out wide here, right?
Correct.
Filling in the spaces in the flanks. But with Graham Arnold, I think he has taken inspiration from another fellow Australian manager and played these two fullbacks as an inverted fullback. So you have this extra midfielders here while still having these number 8, so the midfielders will go up high, and then you have this nice front 5 who is filling every corridor on the pitch horizontally. So yeah, this is the main aim for this is actually, if you have a winger, they will be sucked into the middle, so it opens up a passing lane to these wide midfielders,
for these two,
or for these wingers.
Right.
Yeah, for these two, who is pretty, I would say, dribbly, if that's a word. They like to take on their man.
Okay.
And yeah, this is the shape of the attacking organization of the Australian team. And we can also see here as well, as I mentioned before, the number 8s, they will go really high. And especially this guy, Jackson Irvine, who is more of a box-to-box midfielder, is a really dangerous threat of the ball because he has that goal-scoring instincts, and he has scored 2 goals in this Asian Cup.
This does not leave Australia vulnerable for counters if they're pushing up so high?
So I think that is actually, I would argue for the opposite, because with this inverted fullbacks going inside, then that would mean they are going to be closer to the defensive organization. So if you have your fullbacks up here, then it would mean that they would, they would have to cover up a lot of distance.
Right. More space. Got it. Okay.
So yeah, that is, I think, the main idea behind the inverted fullback strategy. And this is a similar one.
Okay.
You have this inverted fullbacks going inside. But I think that the main difference between the previous screenshot is that this guy, Riley McGree, I think he is probably going to be the key player if Australia is going to have is probably going to gain a win against Indonesia, because I think this guy, he is really excellent in tight spaces. He is a really good dribbler, and he is really technical as well. So Uzbekistan done their homework, and they have their center backs who usually will be here.
Right.
He will mark aggressively towards this guy, Riley McGree, and they don't want him to have any space, have any time to receive the ball, to turn, and to attack their defensive line. So I think that Justin Hubner, he will have a lot of tasks.
Big responsibility.
Big
that would be his job then.
Yeah, that would be his job. I think he is going to have to be disciplined. He is going to be aggressive. He is going to have to be aggressive against this guy, against Riley McGree. And yeah, so that would mean there is going to be a space left behind here.
Right.
And here, Jordi Amat, he will have to be really cautious as well, really aware of maybe like runs in behind from this striker.
Okay.
So I think that the key thing is that we will have to try and limit the importance of the impact of Riley McGree, and maybe actually try to, funnel down the attack down to their left-hand side, because I think that they are not as strong in the left-hand side compared to the right-hand side.
Oh, like force them left, basically.
Yeah, force them left, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to look out for that matchup later on tonight.
Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, here is another example where Riley McGree, there's a lot of space here, but Riley McGree is being marked out by the Uzbekistan defender who is stepping up from the defensive line. But here, I will argue why we need to funnel the attack to the left-hand side, because Jackson Irvine, who is excellent just on two boxes, so on the defensive boxes or the attacking boxes, he is not as strong playing in between the lines.
Okay.
He does not receive the ball very cleanly like Riley McGree. He is not exactly the best dribbler, so he isn't exactly the best player technically, but I think that we have to be cautious for his maybe off-ball runs here. Oh, sorry. His off-ball runs from deep, so he might be a surprise because, yeah, his off-ball runs, his movement of the ball is really good, and that's why he has scored 2 goals in this tournament. But, I think that the main thing here is that we have to try to limit this guy, Riley McGree, because I think he is Australia's best player in this tournament, I think. Even though he has only started 1 game.
Okay.
So, we will be looking at some statistics here. And yeah, I will say that Riley McGree, this is why we have to be really cautious, because this is a scatter chart from players with 10+ take-ons or dribbles attempted in this tournament. And Australia, they have 3 players who are attempting a lot of dribbles. So
this is including all players, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all players with 10+ take-ons attempts. So Jordan Boss, Riley McGree, and Martin Boyle. So these 2 are the wingers. He is the right winger for Australia, and this is the left winger, who is actually a left back, but he is playing as a left winger in this tournament. And we have here Riley McGree. So here is the success percentage of the take-ons attempts, and as you can see here, Riley McGree is the best in the effectiveness of his take-ons. 64% success percentage. That is the best in this tournament within players with 10+ take-ons attempts. So yeah, he is not only just trigger happy in his dribbling, but he is also effective with it.
Okay, efficient.
That is not something you can say with Martin Boyle here, who is probably one of the least effective dribblers in this,
Just under 30%.
Yeah, just under 30%. And Jordan Boss, he is pretty average, I think, even though he is below the median, but with the eye test, I think he was really dangerous as well with the ball. So I think Martin Boyle is someone that is not as effective as these 2, but he is still going to be, we have to watch for him as well in the right flank. And Jordan Boss, Riley McGree, you will see why I highlighted them.
Okay, because they're going to touch the ball plenty, I think, these 3, right?
Yeah. Okay. So they are 3 players who we have to watch for.
Okay.
And yeah, we will come back. We are going to come back with Irvine again, and this is something that we have to watch out for as well. So this dropping striker who is going to make a lot of space in behind. This guy, we have to track him. So we have to be aware. So these 3 players, they have to be aware of his movement, and I think that is going to be the key for Indonesia defensively. So you might expect Sandy Walsh or Rizky Ridho, or even the midfielders here, maybe Iver Jenner or Marcelino Ferdinand, to play a key role in trying to shut his game down.
Okay.
So I think the key players here are, as I mentioned before, Riley McGree, Jackson Irvine, and those two wingers who are going to be a handful for Indonesia.
Okay.
And now we are going to go into the defensive organization where Australia will use a 4-4-2 defensive structure, and this is where I think they are excellent at. They are really physical, they are really intense, and they are very disciplined as well. So you can see that the spaces between the players, it's not
very tight.
Yeah, it's very tight, and they do not leave a lot of space for us. So I think that the main thing here for Indonesia is try to build up constructively. I think that we have to be patient in constructing attacks. So yeah, and the thing with Australia, they will also press high up and force us long. So yeah, they are really intense in the sense that the spaces are really squeezed, and you can see here that every player has their man, and here with the curve runs they can force their opponents to go long here.
What's the key to beating a tight defensive line like this? Is it going wide?
So I think the key is try to be calm and more decisive with the ball. I think that Indonesia's defenders, they actually have the ability to play out of pressure.
Okay.
I think in the Japan game there are several moments where we neatly got out of pressure with a constructive build-up actually.
Okay.
So I think that is one of the strategies, I think. But also going long isn't actually the worst idea.
Okay.
If you can actually expose the defensive backline, the space in behind.
Right.
But you are not going to win an aerial header against these two players because...
Right. Look at the size of them.
Yeah, look at him. Harry Suter, he is a man mountain.
Okay.
He is 198 centimeters high. So you can imagine Rafael Strauch going up against him.
Right.
He is not going to win any aerial duel. So I think going long is probably not the worst idea, but I don't think it is the best idea.
But it plays right into their game plan.
Yeah, but they're not as quick maybe as Rafael Strauch. So maybe if we can gain the space in behind, that would maybe give us an advantage and play into our hands.
Okay.
So, yeah, as we can see here, another statistics. I want to highlight this. So they have the third highest, the third most high turnovers, which means that they gain the ball back in pretty dangerous areas, pretty high up, and that shows their aggressiveness in pressing high, and they are effective. As you can see here, there are 37 high turnovers with 5 of them ending in a shot. So I think that is going to be the main thing for Australia, is that they are physical, they are intense, but they may not be technically as good as Japan or South Korea. So I think that is going to be something that we can take into account, and maybe we can be, why I said before, cautiously optimistic playing against this team.
Okay, so I mean that's all those points to a pretty big mountain to climb for Indonesia. So let's before we get your prediction, let's have a look at this is your predicted lineups for later tonight.
Yeah, I think that Indonesia will play in a 3-4-3 again, but I think that Walsh will come in for Rizky Ridho because I think Walsh is superior aerially, and we saw in the first game against Iraq where Rizky Ridho struggled against Ayman Hussein in in the air. So I think Walsh will come in, and Asnawi will play as the right wing back, and Arhan will keep his place, I think, because in the press conference he was there. So that is a big clue.
It's a good
for
sign.
us.
Okay.
And I think Witan will actually play because Egy is, I think, injured from the previous game, and his pace and his directness could play a big role for us in mastering counter-attacks against Australia, which is, I think, one of our weaknesses. We actually have 0 direct attacks so far in this.
Really?
Oh. Yeah, from the stats from Opta. So we haven't been really effective in the counter-attacking situations. And for Australia, I expect them to play in a 4-3-3 formation again. Harry Suter, he will be the leader in the defensive line, with Gethin Jones and Aziz Behich coming inside as the inferior fullbacks. And here, this guy, he will be the key. And also Boyle and Boss playing down the flanks, with Yenji leading the line up front.
Okay. All right, there you go. So all that being said, as we like to do, what's your predicted score and outcome for tonight?
I'm feeling optimistic today,
nice.
actually.
I like it. You know, you weren't far off in your previous prediction for the match before Japan, so...
Yeah. I think a win, but in penalties.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, that's right, because we are in the round of 16 now. There's no more draws available. So you're expecting the score will be a tight score line then?
I think it's going to be 1-1.
1-1? Okay, yeah. I like it. I like your prediction. I'm actually going to stick with your prediction. Yeah. That's what I was thinking as well. I was thinking at least 1-0, hoping to keep them off the scoreboard. But if it goes to a penalty, hey, who knows, right? Anything can happen. Hassan, thank you so much for this edition of Sport Talk, where we will obviously watch the match later on tonight as well. We will bring you all the highlights and results tomorrow morning on the program. But once again, good luck to our Garuda squad. We'll take another short break here now on the program. But when we return, we've got some of the latest updates from around the world. So stay tuned for that right here on the C Morning Show.
China Earthquake Network Center reported that the quake rocked the Erturpen County in Aksu Prefecture shortly after 2 a.m. local time.
Minister January Makamba was a guest in one of our news programs, a 3-hour news show yesterday. While he was in the studio, he used the opportunity to explain the current state of diplomatic ties between Tanzania and Indonesia.
Indonesian Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi addressed the UN Security Council during an open debate in New York.
Ini adalah open debate Dewan Keamanan PBB ketiga mengenai Gaza dalam 3 bulan terakhir, dan Indonesia hadir di ketiganya.
Indonesian Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi addressed the UN Security Council during an open debate in New York.
Ini adalah open debate Dewan Keamanan PBB ketiga mengenai Gaza dalam 3 bulan terakhir, dan Indonesia hadir di ketiganya.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia keluar itu bergelombol, menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
Flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetite and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
And welcome back to the C Morning Show. It's time for some international updates, beginning in Australia, where thousands of Australia Day protesters demanded that the date of the annual Australia Day must be changed.
They argue that the date commemorates the arrival of the first colonizers and the genocide of the indigenous Australian population.
They also demanded that the genocide in Gaza to be stopped, as they deemed it as a crime against humanity. In addition, they drew parallels between the genocide in Gaza and what happened to the native Australian population over 2 centuries ago.
Tens of thousands of Australians took to the streets to protest against Australia Day, which they argued marks the arrival of European colonialists or colonists more than 200 years ago. Thousands of Invasion Day protesters took to the streets of Sydney, Melbourne, and other cities on Friday, demanding that the date of the annual Australia Day must be changed.
The public holiday takes place annually on January 26th, although some Australians view the holiday as a time to lay back for a cricket match or a barbecue party. Some argue that the date commemorates the story of colonization and indigenous genocide.
Protesters marched through the CBD with Aboriginal and Palestinian flags while calling for changes to the date of Australia Day and the system. They also demanded the independence of Palestine and the genocide in Gaza to be stopped. Furthermore, crowds held signs saying "No pride in genocide" and "No justice, no peace," as they chanted "Always was, always will be Aboriginal land" and "Free Palestine." Our next story comes from the Netherlands, where pro-Palestinian demonstrators reacted to the United Nations top court decision with mixed feelings on Friday, as it ordered Israel to limit deaths and damage but stop short of demanding a ceasefire in Palestinian territory.
Pro-Palestinian activists gathered near the International Court of Justice and chanted "From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free." South Africa alleged that Israel's campaign in the tiny coastal enclave amounted to genocide in the case, which goes to the core of one of the world's most intractable conflicts.
It had asked the court to order Israel to halt the operation. While the ruling stopped short of that, it nonetheless constituted an overwhelming rebuke of Israel's wartime conduct and adds to mounting international pressure to halt the offensive. The offensive itself has killed more than 26,000 Palestinians, decimated vast swathes of Gaza, and driven nearly 85% of its 2.3 million people from their homes.
We want a ceasefire. We want that the bombing stops. We want that the killing stops. We want that people can live in safety. Even if they provide humanitarian assistance, they're gonna bomb the people again, and that's not gonna help. We need a permanent ceasefire. The United Nations Security Council has to come together, have to do a resolution, and have to go all together and stop Israel from committing this genocide.
Jews and Muslims from Bosnia and abroad gathered in Srebrenica on Saturday to jointly observe the International Holocaust Remembrance Day and promote compassion as well as dialogue amid the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Jews and Muslims from Bosnia and abroad gathered in Srebrenica on Saturday to jointly observe the International Holocaust Remembrance Day and promote compassion and dialogue amid rising global sectarian hatred fueled by Israel's war in Gaza. The gathering was organized by the Center Preserving Memory of Europe's only acknowledged genocide since the Holocaust to underscore the message that the two communities share the experience of persecution and must stay united in the commitment to peace.
Bosanski muslimani, Bošnjaci i bosanski Jevreji su jedno tijelo. Naše veze su tanke, tkane i u vremenima iskušenja i u periodima blagostanja i interakcije u kojima smo jedni od drugih učili, u dobru se pomagali. Ali oba naša naroda su propatila i znaju šta su pokušaji da ih se istrijebi i uništi.
Menachem Rosensaft, a child of Holocaust survivors, was also in attendance. He is also the General Counsel for the World Jewish Congress, who has repeatedly led delegations of Jewish scholars and young diplomats at ceremonies to commemorate Srebrenica massacre held every July in the eastern Bosnian town.
Today is not a time, and this commemoration is not the place for politics or to express our respective views or opinions on present-day global developments. Today, the time and this commemoration is the place for remembrance, for not allowing the ghosts of our past to fade away from us. And yet today is also a time, and this commemoration is also the place for us to jointly commit ourselves to doing everything in our power to prevent the horrors we remember here today from being repeated.
The commemoration was followed by the launch of the Srebrenica Muslim-Jewish Peace and Remembrance Initiative, devised and signed by Rosensaft and Kovačević. The signing of the initiative was witnessed by the Srebrenica massacre survivor and the leader of Bosnia's Jewish community, who was born in a concentration camp in 1943. As the signatories of the initiative, Kovačević and Rosensaft are committed to collaborate in times of crisis, maintain consistent and compassionate channels of communication, remember and commemorate the victims of past genocides, and repudiate all forms of bigotry.
And that's the end of the international news segment. We're going to take another break, but when we come back, we'll have some local updates from around Southeast Asia. So stay tuned on the C Morning Show, only on C Today.
We have more business updates right here from our nation, where the Association of Indonesian Automotive Manufacturers, or GAIKINDO, reported that over 1 million vehicles were sold in Indonesia last year.
The Indonesian government has announced plans to allocate around 4.8 billion rupiahs for this year's pre-employment program. Now, the program aims to help boost economic recovery, especially for those affected by COVID-related layoffs.
The Indonesian government is once again providing food aid in the form of rice reserves to support the public amid higher prices of the commodity in the market.
Stok bulog sekarang ini alhamdulillah masih pada posisi yang baik, masih 1,4 juta ton.
China has been racing against time for rescue and disaster relief work after a landslide on Monday struck a mountainous village in southwest China's Yunnan province.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking debt to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-host.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick.
Point to Manado on the smash. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulis.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
Berangkat aja dulu, kerjakan apa yang ada di depan kalian. Setidaknya kalian hari ini walaupun tidak mendapatkan uang, tapi kalian mendapatkan kesempatan.
Walaupun di awal-awal itu banyak sekali rintangan dan tantangan.
Kalian berproses aja dulu, jalan aja dulu. Kalau udah waktunya kalian untuk dapetin uang akan datang nyamperin kalian. Hal yang paling sangat utama untuk mengawali bisnis, ridho dan restu orang tua. Itu hal dan modal paling besar dalam mengawali usaha.
Ke Binjai mau migrasi.
Cakep.
Anjay, aku deportasi.
Ya, aku cuma mau bilang hari ini kamu tuh cantik ya.
Aduh ya Allah.
Oke lah kalau penampilan dia nggak sebaik itu, nggak sebagus itu, nggak seganteng itu, tapi itu hatinya dia sebaik itu dan tidak ada orang yang pernah gue temuin hatinya sebaik Mars.
Pemain.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. It is now time for us to see what's been making headlines across Southeast Asia this morning. Messi?
First up from Singapore, where President Tharman Shanmugaratnam conducted the first state visit to Brunei from January 24th to the 26th. It was President Tharman's first state visit since taking office in September 2023. The three-day trip coincided with the 40th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Singapore and Brunei Darussalam. The president also said that Brunei was chosen as a destination of his first ever state visit to celebrate the special relationship both countries enjoy, especially in the finance and defense sectors.
Moving on to Cambodia, where the country's health ministry recently announced that a 3-year-old boy was found to have contracted bird flu. Authorities are now investigating him while also providing intensive care. The N5N1 case was confirmed on January the 25th, while further investigation revealed that the chickens and ducks have been perishing in the boy's village for around 10 days. The health ministry said that subnational emergency response teams and local authorities are investigating the case and continue to look for the source of the virus.
And finally, from Cuba, where a military jury at Guantanamo Bay has sentenced 2 Malaysians to an additional 5 years in prison for conspiring in the 2002 Bali bombing. A jury of 5 U.S. military officers were assembled to decide on a sentence ranging anywhere from 20 to 25 years. Malaysian nationals Muhammad Farik Amin and Muhammad Nazir Lep were members of the terrorist organization Jamaah Islamiyah, which is affiliated with Al-Qaeda. Amin was considered a key figure in the organization, while Lep was a significant member who was involved in planning and executing attacks. Both have been detained at Guantanamo following the bombing and pleaded guilty to conspiring in 2 suicide bombings on the resort island of Bali.
All right, that was the highlight, and now let's start the story. The first one is from Malaysia. A landslide struck a house at the Cameron Highlands in Malaysia during the early hours of Friday on January the 26th.
The landslide also cuts road access to the Blue Valley area and killed several individuals, including Myanmar nationals.
The incident occurred at Batu 54 in Blue Valley, a small town in the well-known tourist destination, which is the Cameron Highlands. 5 victims were identified as of January 27th, including 2 deceased individuals and 3 more who authorities suspect are still be buried inside the house. The 5 victims, including 1 woman, were Myanmar nationals who work in vegetables farms and had UNHCR cards.
According to Cameron Highlands District Police Chief Aziz Ramli, bad weather conditions and difficult road access have slowed evacuations. Around 217 people, consisting of search and rescue teams as well as local farmers, have been deployed to assist with the evacuation process. Meanwhile, the 2024 ASEAN Tourism Forum was held in Vientiane in Laos from January 22nd to the 27th.
The event aims to strengthen cooperation among ASEAN member countries with the goal of improving tourism products and attracting more international visitors.
And the event will also discuss topics regarding contributions to ASEAN as well as sustainable tourism within the region.
Asian Tourism Forum is one of the most important annual tourism promotional events in Asia, which is hosted alternately by Asian member nations. For 2024, Laos is hosting the Asian Tourism Forum from January 22 to 27, under the theme Quality and Responsible Tourism Sustaining Asian Future. Through the ADF, buyers from all over the world will come to meet with Asian sellers of tourism products and service to forge new business partnerships. For Laos, the ADF provides Lao tourism operators with the opportunity to gain direct access to target markets. Buy and sell tourism products with other business owners. This forum will help to promote and provide related businesses with opportunity to develop and improve their services. The Lao government plans to attract 4.6 million domestic and foreign visitors in 2024 after the country launched the Visit Laos Year tourism promotion campaign and assumed the Asian share. As the key target market for Laos, tourists from Asian member states continue to be the main focus of Lao government, followed by visitors from Asian Pacific nations and those from Europe and the US. The Lao government has developed a variety of tourism-related products, facility, transportation, and activities. It's also modernizing the country tourism service to meet international standards. The Asian Tourism Forum here in Lao capital of Vientiane comprises numerous high-level events including Asian ministerial meeting.
We are working very hard to take a strategic role how to achieve tourism as a net zero sector. Indonesia's position is globally recognized on quality tourism with primary values on sustainability and inclusivity. By embracing these values, Indonesia firmly believes that it aligns with the objective of the ASEAN Tourism Strategic Plan, which envisions ASEAN as quality tourism destinations and contributor to the socio-economic well-being of the ASEAN community.
Tourism conferences and travel exchange fair. ATF Travel Exchange Trade Fair featured 83 booths, including 34 displaying Lao product and services.
I came here purposely. Of course, our expectation is to get some more people coming to Indonesia as a tourism. Secondly, this is a Lao. We also like to have some more tour operators from Laos to get a contact with us, to make a business with us, to send the people. While the other thing, of course, we need all the tourists coming from all over the country to see Indonesia. Nowadays, our government has focused to 5 priority destinations. Yeah? One is Yogyakarta, second is Sumatra for Toba, and then the third is Likupang, fourth is Komodo dragon, you know, where Komodo Island, where you can see the dragon there, and then the fifth, the priority destination now is Mandalika in Lombok. So this is the 5 priority destination which is now led by our government. So this is the one we like to sell here. We like to extend this promotion to attract the people coming to 5 destinations.
I'm from Gebek, we're a German tour operator, and we are looking for partnerships for sustainability tours. And yes, I'm looking for new products, new ideas to develop the Southeast Asian countries.
The Asian Tourism Forum reflects the commitment of the leaders of Asian member countries to promote the Southeast Asian as one tourism destination. To help the nation developing sustainable tourism, the Indonesian government is currently setting fund. This fund will allow Indonesia to help promote tourism events and improve the national branding in a global market. Mania Mananti Sen, reporting for the Sea Today, Vientiane capital, Laos.
And that was news from across Southeast Asia. When we return, Shafir will bring you even more news, so stay tuned on the Sea Morning Show, only on Sea Today.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking debt to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick.
Point to Manado on the smash. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulis.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
Berangkat aja dulu, kerjakan apa yang ada di depan kalian. Setidaknya kalian hari ini walaupun tidak mendapatkan uang, tapi kalian mendapatkan kesempatan.
Walaupun di awal-awal itu banyak sekali rintangan dan tantangan.
Kalian berproses aja dulu, jalan aja dulu. Kalau udah waktunya kalian untuk dapetin uang akan datang nyamperin kalian. Hal yang paling sangat utama untuk mengawali bisnis, ridho dan restu orang tua. Itu hal dan modal paling besar dalam mengawali usaha.
Ke Binjai mau migrasi.
Cakep.
Anjay, aku depotsi.
Ya, aku cuma mau bilang hari ini kamu tuh cantik ya.
Aduh ya Allah.
Oke lah kalau penampilan dia nggak sebaik itu, nggak sebagus itu, nggak seganteng itu, tapi itu hatinya dia sebaik itu dan tidak ada orang yang pernah gue temuin hatinya sebaik Mas.
Pemain.
A group of volunteers operating in the south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it is familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different when baguette. So with those appetite and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show. Now, I have some features for you to watch. The first story is from Indonesia. A retired teacher in Bangka Regency, Bangka Belitung Islands, ventures into mushroom farming to sustain his income. Interestingly, he began this in the while still actively teaching, learning the ropes available in the school library.
Retirement period could be another stage of life to explore entrepreneurship. In Bangka Regency, Bangka Belitung Islands, there is a man named Sugianto, who has not only developed a successful mushroom farming business, but also managed to earn millions of rupiah through online marketing.
Nah, kemudian saya mencoba masuk ke media sosial, saya jual secara online lewat Facebook, ya, Instagram, kemudian di forum jual beli gitu ya. Itu forum jual beli Sungai Liat, forum jual beli Bangka Belitung, saya masukin semuanya. Nah, kemudian saya posting di sana, alhamdulillah respon pasar bagus.
Sugianto's journey towards this success began long before his retirement. Back in 2007, when he was a civil servant, he started laying the groundwork for entrepreneurship. As a teacher, he acquired knowledge about mushroom farming from books in the school library. Yet, the initial stage were quite challenging.
Produksi pertama, kedua itu saya masih artinya rugi total gitu ya, karena pasar belum berkembang.
Now in his backyard, Sugianto consistently harvests up to 40 kilograms of mushroom daily. And each kilogram of this staple fruit sells for up to 40,000 rupiah, providing him with a stable source of income. City News contributor reporting from Bangka Regency, Bangka Belitung Islands.
Very interesting, but we still have more interesting stories still from Indonesia. A young man in Banjarnegara, Central Java has successfully breed crickets for their eggs and make $1 million of rupiahs. Ooh. In a month, this young is able to gain around 5 million rupiahs from this farming. Amazing.
Matt Arianto, a 33-year-old man from Somawangi village, Mandiraja district, Banjarnegara, Central Java. He only utilized some spaces at his house to place 1.5-meter containers made of styrofoam and bamboo to house the crickets. He feeds these crickets 4 times in a day with animal feed or leftover veggies. These thousands of critters are prepared for breeder when they reach 45 days of age. The container to keep the eggs are quite simple, only consists of tray and sand, and Arianto can harvest the cricket's eggs once in 2 days. Meanwhile, the farmer uses water to separate the eggs from the sand, then dry them for a while before being sold.
Pertamanya saya ikut ternak 2 box, lalu kemudian periode berikutnya saya mencoba merambah ke produksi telur ya. Jadi setelah itu, alhamdulillah setelah 1 tahun berjalan, alhamdulillah saya bisa menjual telur itu dengan hasil yang kurang lebih sekitar 5 juta lah tiap bulannya.
Omsetnya ya.
Kalau untuk indukannya itu saya ngitungnya per kilo ya, bukan per ekor ya. Kalau yang saya selama jalani itu sih saya modal indukan itu saya 8 kilo. 8 kilo indukan itu menghasilkan kalau 2 hari atau bisa dikatakan 48 jam itu saya menghasilkan 2 kilo telur jangkrik dari hasil 8 kilo indukan. Ya, kalau untuk prioritas saya targetnya untuk peternak jangkrik ya, dan untuk pemasarannya lewat online di grup Facebook atau lewat via teman, lewat WA, dan ya seperti itulah.
Apart from Banjarnegara, Arianto also has many customers from other cities, including Wonosobo and Purbalingga. Today contributor reporting from Banjarnegara, Central Java.
That was it, and we're up for another short break. In the meantime, don't forget to follow our social media accounts if you haven't already. We're on Instagram, X, also YouTube at C Today News. Stay tuned for the cooking segment after this one.
China Earthquake Network Center reported that the quake rocked the Ertupen County in Aksu Prefecture shortly after 2 a.m. local time.
Minister January Makamba was a guest in one of our news programs, a 3-hour news show yesterday. While he was in the studio, he used the opportunity to explain the current state of diplomatic ties between Tanzania and Indonesia.
Indonesian Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi addressed the UN Security Council during an open debate in New York.
Ini adalah open debate Dewan Keamanan PBB ketiga mengenai Gaza dalam 3 bulan terakhir, dan Indonesia hadir di ketiganya.
Indonesian Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi addressed the UN Security Council during an open debate in New York.
Ini adalah open debate Dewan Keamanan PBB ketiga mengenai Gaza dalam 3 bulan terakhir, dan Indonesia hadir di ketiganya.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports so you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot.
You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia itu bergelombol, menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
Alright guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking debt to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Yes, we do. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the C Morning Show. It's time for our favorite segment because it is a Sunday indeed. It is time for us to cook in Yuk Masak. So, as we know, many Chinese... Missed the bumper there. All right, many Chinese culinary delights will be available in public markets as we head towards the Chinese New Year, or Imlek. And since today is Sunday and Imlek is just around the corner, 2 weeks away as a matter of fact, we will be making a tasty dish called Chinese dish called steamed milk pudding in today's Yuk Masak segment. And we are with Chef Cheryl Gunawan, joining us this morning, and she will guide me and you guys at home in making this delicacy. So, Chef, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. So, first of all, let's get started on this meal. First of all, tell us what the ingredients are that we need to make steamed milk pudding.
All right. So, good thing is that this dessert is very easy. In particular, you only need 3 main ingredients. So, first, of course, we'll need some fresh milk. This could be like any soy milk, cow's milk, any milk that you want to use.
Okay.
And then condensed milk.
Condensed
as
milk.
a little bit of a sweetener,
Okay.
if you prefer. And also eggs.
Eggs.
Yeah, so those 3 main ingredients for this dessert in particular. And then we'll be only using the egg whites instead of as a whole egg.
I see, okay.
Yeah.
And what are these ingredients on the side that you have here as well?
So later on, once the milk pudding has been steamed and is ready to eat, we can always put toppings. So this is where we can go crazy and to be, you know, like creative as we
I see, okay, okay. So we can kind of use any kind of topping we want, but what did you choose for these?
So typically, because this is a very traditional Cantonese dessert, they would use a sweetened red bean as a topping.
Sweetened red beans?
Or a classic steamed peanuts as well.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started right away with what we're going to make here. You're the chef. You are the head chef. I will be your sous chef. So let me know how I can help. Let's start.
All right. So we just make sure that we do have the equipment. The equipment that we will need today here
Of
is
course.
a steamer.
A steamer?
Yep. You can use it, the one like this, or the one on top of a stove like that.
Okay.
And also we're just making sure that it's on so that when we're ready, the steamer is hot enough for us.
Okay.
And then before that, we're going to boil the milk, like almost boil the milk.
Right, I
just
see.
until like warm it up. And you do that for me, please?
I will do this.
Thank you.
Take care of it.
And then I'm going
water.
to separate the eggs
Milk.
as well. Yeah,
Should I put it on 200? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
That's a note for you viewers at home. When you boil milk, you don't want it to be too hot, do you?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you want to make sure that the texture stays relatively intact. Here we go.
That's very correct. All right, so we do have the milk heating there, and now I'm going to separate the eggs. So for the quantity is very easy. We'll be making 2 portions today. That's 300 milliliters of milk.
300 milliliters milk.
And then we're going to use 2 eggs because it's 2 portions. If you want to make a small one just for yourself, you can use 1 egg.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then we're just going to separate it because we'll be only using the egg whites.
Is there a way for you to be able to, because whenever I try to cook, sometimes I have difficulty like separating egg whites.
Okay.
So is there like a specific way that you do it?
So I just crack the eggs open, so I cracked it like this, and then I use the shell actually to separate it.
Right, I see.
So it's really easy. Or some people, you know what they did? They like to just crack it as a whole egg, and they use the hands to kind of like
just to scoop out the yellow, right?
Scoop out the yellow.
Okay.
Exactly.
Sure.
All right.
Can I try using the other one?
Yeah, sure.
I'd like to develop my skills
Go for
in
it.
egg cracking. Okay, I'm just.
Oh, so this is a trick actually.
Oh, go on.
So instead of going like on the side of the bowl, you can just like knock it on each other.
I see.
It's easier that way.
But what if you like crack the other egg by accident?
No. Because the other one will have more pressure. Yeah.
Right, of course. I see. Thank you so much.
Oh, good.
I'm gonna separate it, just like so.
All right. Oh, you're doing great.
Yeah?
All right.
Wonderful. Is that enough egg white?
Yep, that's perfect.
All right, perfect. I'm just going to put this down here then.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
So I think our milk is now starting to slightly warm up a bit.
Okay.
And then the last ingredients, this is very easy. We're going to put the condensed milk with the egg whites, and we're just going to slightly whisk it until it's kind of foamy.
Okay.
Yeah. So just going to put it, it's around 2 tablespoons of condensed milk. And then we're just going to whisk it up until
Very
it's foamy.
nice. Okay. And the condensed milk is to make it sweet, right? Just to add a little bit of a sweet taste to it.
Yes, that's correct. And another way as well to do this recipe in particular, like I said, today we'll be only using the egg whites, but if you like egg pudding, like the yellow egg pudding, you can also incorporate the egg yolk as well.
I see, okay.
But it's more like the difference will be in the texture and also visual, because it will be yellow, and the one that we make today will be like a white. So yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Let's keep at it. So this is kind of like a dessert. I mean, as you know, we're doing this in the morning, and people who watch in Jakarta and perhaps in other cities as well are getting ready for Car-Free Day.
Yes.
Right. So do you reckon this would be a good like snack to have before or after, while we're in the middle of doing it?
So for me, I think this is after workout kind of
After workout.
Because you know what? It contains quite a good amount of protein from the egg white.
That's true.
And it's not too sweet as well. So
That's true.
I would say this dessert is very forgiving. It's not the naughty kind of dessert. Because in a Sunday morning, you just kind of want to reset your body, right?
Yeah.
You just want to eat something warm and then something that is nourished for your body.
Yeah.
I think this will be perfect.
All right.
All right. So, Messi, now do you want to help me to pour the milk in the egg mixture?
Sure, let's do it. I'm going to use my left hand here. I do apologize.
Yep. And
Should
then,
I pour all of it in?
yes, so all of it.
Oh, no. It spilled a little bit. I do apologize for that.
Oh,
There
that's
you
all right.
go. Here, Yep, I'll take care of it.
So we're just going to mix it while we whisk. Pour it while we whisk it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So pretty much we do have the milk pudding mixture there. Now, the last thing that we're going to do, this is the hardest part.
Right.
I'll tell you why. Because we have to steam it and we have to wait.
We have to steam it and we have to wait.
That's the hardest part for me because the rest is just really easy.
Yeah,
right?
I can imagine, yeah.
And this is also very important.
Okay.
We'll be using a bowl that is heat proof, so glass bowl like this will be perfect.
Okay.
Or if you want to go festive with the idea of Chinese New Year, maybe like a Chinese porcelain would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can either choose these two, but making sure it's heat proof because we're going to put it on top of a steam.
Inside the steamer
like hot
itself, right? Yeah.
All right. So, do you want to help me to?
Thank you very much.
one?
So what is this for?
So the strainer, we're going to strain like the foamy bits from the top because we whisk it. Of course, it
I
will form a foam, and you do want your pudding to be like really nice and smooth and silky, right?
Right.
So the foam kind of like disturb a bit with that texture, so we just want to strain it once or twice if needed.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Are there people with tastes of pudding who would prefer it to have a little bit of foam or bubbles on the top?
Yes.
You reckon?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's really up to your personal taste, isn't it? If you prefer pudding with some foam on it or with a bit of an interesting texture, like and not just a smooth texture, then you can keep the foam. You don't have to use the strainer.
Keep the foam, definitely. All right, that's one.
Is that enough?
Yes, that's enough.
Alrighty.
You don't want it to be like too full.
Okay.
Or else it will take longer just for the steaming process. But if you wish to have your pudding quite high, then you can just go all the way up.
Okay.
Yeah. And then next one,
the other
we're
one
just gonna do a small bowl.
Yep. All right.
That's great.
Just gonna pull it out. All right.
So I would say this recipe in particular, you will make two small ones or like, like 3 small ones or like 2 big ones.
Okay.
All right. So before we put it in the steamer, there's one last thing that we need to do. This is quite important as well. So we'll be covering the top of the bowl with a glad wrap, or if you use a traditional, like a Chinese steamer, you can also wrap the lid of the steamer with a fabric cloth.
I see.
Because you know what, if we steam things and then later on the condensation will go back in the mixture.
Right,
Yeah,
of course,
it
of
won't.
course.
It will kind of like mess up with the texture of the pudding a little bit. So we can do either those 2 ways.
All right. Let me help you with the other one.
Thank you. So do you reckon you're more into like a sweet tooth person, or do you like savory more?
I'm more of a savory person.
Okay.
Yeah, I tend to enjoy kind of saltier foods, and I think, I'm not sure why actually. I'm curious to find out myself.
Oh, okay.
Because I wish I could try kind of more sweeter foods, but it's just quite difficult for me to. But I'm looking forward to this because it's not too sweet, is it?
It's not too sweet. Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of sweetness, let's take a look at the ingredients for steamed milk pudding, which you can see right now on your screen. 2 servings, 2 eggs, 300 milliliters of milk,
and 2 tablespoons of condensed milk if you want to have a little bit of sweetener in your pudding.
Indeed.
Yeah, because you know why? You can go as sweet or not sweet for the pudding itself, because we kind of like go crazy with the sweetened red bean on top.
Of
you know,
course.
It's quite sweet.
Yeah.
So some people prefer it without without sugar or any sweetener inside the pudding.
But it actually uses some very simple ingredients as well, doesn't it? So you just need milk, you need an egg, and that's basically it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you can just
so
add
we're just
more.
gonna put the pudding now inside the steamer.
Okay. Just like that?
Quite hot. Yep.
Okay.
And we can just put one at a time, actually.
Oh, one at a time, I see.
Just
okay.
because we have a small one here, but if you have a big one at home, you can put like multiple bowls inside as well.
So how long do we want to put this in the steamer for?
So it really depends on the height as well of the pudding, but
I see.
approximately is around 15 to 20 minutes until it's cooked.
15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's a long time to wait. I mean, it's actually not that long. It's quite a. I reckon you can, read a magazine or watch your YouTube series, something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But do you have any? While we wait for this one to finish, let's take a look at what the actual finished product would look like.
Definitely.
Or not the finished food, I should say, not product.
So
I've
made
that.
this one earlier, so we're just gonna remove the cling wrap, and then I'll show you what the texture should like. So
I see.
It's not quite set, it's still very much like jiggly.
Okay.
So this is the texture that you want.
You don't want it to be too solid, do you? You want it to be. Yeah, I see. Now why is that?
Because for the egg itself, of course, like if you eat like a hard pudding, it's more like, it's quite firm. It's not very nice and smooth when you eat it. Like the mouthfeel will be very different. So you kind of want to keep an eye on it and then try to like jiggle it. Once it's a jiggle, like how would you eat panna cotta?
Right, of course, yeah.
And then it's something mimicking that kind of texture.
Very nice. But of course, this isn't the finish. This isn't the final. Way of presenting, because we also have the red beans and
the peanuts. All right. So this is the one that I scooped before. So basically, after you finish steam it, you can always scoop it as well into like a nicer container or like a vessel if you want to present it, and then that's when you can actually go crazy with the toppings.
I see.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a look. We have red beans and we have peanuts. What should we do with it?
So do you like both of this? You don't have any allergy, don't you?
Thankfully, I have no allergies to peanuts and I have no allergies to red beans. I really like red beans, actually.
Okay,
so I'm curious.
we can go crazy with the red
let's
beans.
do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to go with the red beans then?
Thank you very
I'll follow
much.
with the peanuts.
How much red beans should I put into it? Should I just go wild, or
Yeah, we can just put it like on that
on
side.
the sides?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's great.
Just like that. There you go. Red beans on one side over here. Is that enough, or should I add more?
Add more. I think I like a lot of toppings for my steamed milk pudding.
All right, here we go. Some more red beans over here. Is that too much?
No, that's great actually.
Oh, perfect. All right.
And then I'm going to put the peanuts as well.
Uh-huh.
Yep. You can just put it on the side. And you know what's the best part? Although this one is steamed, people will thought, oh, like steamed milk pudding, you would just serve it warm.
Right.
But you can also chill it as well.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is perfect for like either like cold or hot days.
Would that change when you cool it? Would that change the texture of the pudding?
Actually not, because if you remember, the texture that we look forward to is the one that is still jiggly.
Oh, that's true.
So when it's pressed in the fridge, it will stay like this still.
Oh, okay. And I suppose then this is the final.
Yes.
How it looks, isn't it?
Yeah,
Steamed pudding with red beans and peanuts. And of course, we're going to eat it with that kind of spoon, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, there we go.
All right.
May I give it a taste?
No, yes, please. And let me know how it tastes.
Here we go. I'm just going to take a little bit of a spoonful here. So we want to have the red bean and the peanut at the same time, or should we separate it and kind of like see how it tastes on its own?
It really is up to you. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I'll go crazy though with the toppings.
Wow. Wow. That is nice.
And it's super easy and quick too, right?
It is, yeah. 5 minutes to take care of all the main ingredients, and another 15 minutes to do the steaming.
You just wait, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Definitely. So the wait is the hardest part, like I said. And then, like you said before, Messi, like you like things that is savory. And with this recipe as well, you can go savory as well.
Oh, I see.
Instead of putting red bean, you can pour a soy sauce on top. You can put a spring onion as well on top, because that's how people in a lot of in Cantonese dessert or dish, they would just steam egg. They can serve it sweet or also savory.
I see. So it's quite a flexible, dish, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So when people eat this, usually, like traditionally, what do they eat it with? Like, is there like an accompanying dish as well that goes alongside it, or does it kind of go on its own usually?
So this is very typical Cantonese dessert, like I said. So they do really like this simple, almost like a palate cleanser taste when it comes to dessert. Because you know, like how Chinese cuisine mostly are very quite oily and heavy.
Yeah.
You just want something that is cut it through after that. So I'll be happy with this. Or you can also boil a ginger, almost like a ginger-based soup. Like how would you eat a tawa in Indonesia?
Right, of course.
Or like
of course.
kembang tahu. It's very similar, so you would just serve it with ginger soup on top of this to make it very soupy as well.
Oh.
So you can go like crazy with this recipe. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is amazing. And while we eat this, I hope you don't mind if I take another bite.
Please go for it.
I wish the other presenters were here to be able to taste how good this is. But I'll make sure to get a bite of this dish after the break. So we're going to take a break, and we're going to have more news coming for you when we return. So stay tuned with us on the C Morning Show, only on C Today. Cheers.
We have more business updates right here from our nation, where the Association of Indonesian Automotive Manufacturers, or Gaikindo, reported that over 1 million vehicles were sold in Indonesia last year.
The Indonesian government has announced plans to allocate around 4.8 billion rupiahs for this year's pre-employment program.
Now, the program aims to help boost economic recovery, especially for those affected by COVID-related layoffs.
The Indonesian government is once again providing food aid in the form of rice reserves to support the public amid higher prices of the commodity in the market.
Stok bulog sekarang ini alhamdulillah masih pada posisi yang baik. Masih 1,4 juta ton.
China has been racing against time for rescue and disaster relief work after a landslide on Monday struck a mountainous village in southwest China's Yunnan province.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick. Point to Manado on the smash. I'm horrible. I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulisnya.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
Berangkat aja dulu, kerjakan apa yang ada di depan kalian. Setidaknya kalian hari ini walaupun tidak mendapatkan uang, tapi kalian mendapatkan kesempatan.
Walaupun di awal-awal itu banyak sekali rintangan dan tantangan.
Kalian berproses aja dulu, jalan aja dulu. Kalau udah waktunya kalian untuk dapetin uang akan datang nyamperin kalian. Hal yang paling sangat utama untuk mengawali bisnis, ridho dan restu orang tua. Itu hal dan modal paling besar dalam mengawali usaha.
Ke Binjai mau migrasi.
Cakep.
Anjay, aku deportasi.
Ya, aku cuma mau bilang hari ini kamu tuh cantik loh.
Aduh ya Allah. Baru kali ini.
Oke lah kalau penampilan dia nggak sebaik itu, nggak sebagus itu, nggak seganteng itu, tapi itu hatinya dia sebaik itu dan tidak ada orang yang pernah gue temuin hatinya sebaik Mars.
Pemain.
Welcome back to the C Morning Show. It's time now to look at updates regarding the upcoming Indonesian general elections on Indonesia Votes 2024.
All right, our first story is from vice presidential candidate under ballot number 2, Muhaimin Iskandar, also known as Caimin, met his supporters in Badung Regency yesterday.
Caimin was welcomed by the Minister of Village Development and Disadvantaged Regions and Transmigration, as well as National Awakening Party member Abdul Hakim Iskandar upon arriving at a hotel in the Sunset Road area. He was also greeted by his supporters, who are mainly volunteers in the Bali Satu Suara Untuk Amin, or Basra Amin community.
In his speech, Caimin pledged to make changes to Indonesia and believe that the strategy can be accepted among civilians.
Ya, gagasan perubahan ini alhamdulillah bisa diterima semua kalangan dari berbagai latar belakang partai apapun. Karena rata-rata keinginan perubahan itu terutama yang ada di depan mata. Nasib seluruh orang kecil ini yang harus dirubah. Agar ada perhatian kepada mereka-mereka yang memang sudah lama terhimpit.
And that was the vice presidential candidate from ballot number 1. Meanwhile, ballot number 2, Gibran Rakabuming Raka, campaigned alongside presidential candidate Prabowo Subianto at the Jakarta Convention Center, or JCC, in Senayan, Central Jakarta, on Saturday afternoon yesterday.
Yeah, and they both seem to be in high spirits when conveying their goals and programs in front of thousands of supporters, ranging from millennials to Gen Z.
Presidential candidate Prabowo Subianto and his running mate Gibran Rakabuming Raka attended the Indonesian Youth Voices event held by their volunteers at the Jakarta Convention Center, or JCC, in Senayan, Central Jakarta on Saturday afternoon.
Gibran also took the chance to ask about inflation to youth volunteers who attended the occasion. His inquiries were answered by Prananda. Aside from praising Prananda for answering quickly, Gibran also gave him the blue jacket that he donned during the second vice presidential debate.
Yang di tribun tengah.
Pak Prabowo dan saya sangat peduli dengan masa depan Indonesia. Dan masa depan Indonesia itu dimulai dari hari ini. Harus dimulai dari kita. Dari orang tua sampai anak muda. Yang harus dipahami bahwa sekarang bangsa kita memiliki momentum dan kesempatan yang amat luar biasa untuk dapat melompat jauh menjadi bangsa Indonesia yang lebih maju, yang lebih berdaulat, yang lebih kuat untuk memenangkan persaingan masa depan. Momentum serta kesempatan besar ini tidak akan datang dua kali. Dan hanya bisa kita raih jika kita saling mendukung, saling bekerja sama, dan saling membela sebagai satu bangsa Indonesia.
Meanwhile, vice presidential candidate under ballot number 3, Mahfud MD, visited the Al-Hijaz Islamic boarding school in Karawang, West Java on Saturday, January the 27th.
Mahfud MD said that the trip was not part of his campaign, while also urging the public to maintain peace during the general elections.
Hundreds of Islamic boarding school students and dozens of Islamic Representatives from West Java welcome the arrival of Vice Presidential candidate Mahfud MD.
The former Constitutional Court Chief Justice took the chance to discuss nationalism in front of attendees. He also urged the public to love Indonesia by maintaining peace, particularly during the general elections period.
Saya mengadakan halakoh.
Jangan dorong ya belakang.
Halakoh bukan kampanye di Pondok Pesantren Al-Hijaz yang dipimpin oleh Abuya Fatahillah. Ya, saya tidak kampanye sama sekali, saya hanya ingin mengajak kita menjaga NKRI dengan nilai-nilai kedamaian di dalam persatuan. Dan alhamdulillah ini yang datang dari 27 kabupaten barat.
And now we're back to some Southeast Asia updates. Beginning with Thailand, as petitioner Sri Suwan Janya was arrested as a resident in the Pathum Thani province of Thailand on Friday for alleged extortion after an Agriculture and Cooperatives Ministry senior official lodged a complaint to the police.
Thai Rice Department Director General Natakin Kongtip accused Sri Suwan of extorting the amount of 3 million bahts from him in exchange to silence for alleged irregularities into agency projects.
Natakit also accused two politicians from the ruling coalition, Yoswaris Chuklom and Pimnata Jiraputipak, of being Sri Suwan's accomplices. His complaint led to arrest warrants against Sri Suwan and Pimnata for allegedly encouraging a state official to commit misconduct, demanding bribery and dereliction of duty.
The Singapore Red Cross, or SRC, made a joint announcement with the Health Sciences Authority, or HSA, saying that the country is facing a shortage of type O blood.
The country's current stockpile can only last for less than 6 days. The SRC and HSA requested Group O donors to donate blood in the next 2 weeks, ahead of the Chinese New Year holiday on February the 10th and the 11th. The aim is to replenish the country's blood stockpile to sufficient levels. As the universal blood group, type O blood is essential for emergencies, as they are often given to patients with unidentified blood types.
CRC and HSA stated that elective surgeries will be postponed if the stockpile for Group O blood continues to decline. Both organizations also said that the stockpile must be enough to sustain the country for 9 days, with 12 days as a safe threshold. What is your blood type?
My blood type is O minus, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, you can be a donor then.
Yeah, if I go to Singapore, I can definitely. I'll be more than happy to donate my blood. Actually,
we can be beneficial for others.
Yes, indeed.
If it's needed. All right, we're going for a quick break, and Paul will return with a recap from the world of sports.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking that to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
Hey there, buddies! Welcome back to another episode of Buddy Talk.
Enggak, dia hostnya, kita co-hostnya.
It's better to be overdressed than underdressed. That's actually a good hack, because I used to live in Canada. That was our trick. Point to Manado on the smash. I'm horrible, I told you I'm bad.
Dikira dengan banyaknya informasi itu kan jadi makin gampang gitu nulis.
Iya.
Tapi ternyata susah banget.
Berangkat aja dulu, kerjakan apa yang ada di depan kalian. Setidaknya kalian hari ini walaupun tidak mendapatkan uang, tapi kalian mendapatkan kesempatan.
Walaupun di awal-awal itu banyak sekali rintangan dan tantangan.
Kalian berproses aja dulu, jalan aja dulu. Kalau udah waktunya kalian untuk dapetin uang akan datang nyamperin kalian. hal yang paling sangat utama untuk mengawali bisnis, ridho dan restu orang tua. Itu hal dan modal paling besar dalam mengawali usaha.
Ke Binjai mau migrasi.
Cakep.
Anjay, aku depot sih.
Ya aku cuma mau bilang hari ini kamu tuh cantik ya. Aduh ya Allah.
Oke lah kalau penampilan dia nggak sebaik itu, nggak sebagus itu, nggak seganteng itu, tapi itu hatinya dia sebaik itu dan tidak ada orang yang pernah gue temuin hatinya sebaik Mas.
Pemain.
Group of volunteers operating in the south of the city has united to assist displaced children in a refugee camp in Rafah in overcoming the trauma of war. The volunteers come from diverse professional backgrounds and share expertise in working with young people.
Asian flavors is gaining more popularity around the world in the last decade. Personally love this, not just because it's familiar for our palate, but because the airiness, the textures of the youtiao, it's completely different than baguette. So with those appetites and with those pleasure-driven people, Menteng is a very special place for restaurant.
Hi, welcome back to the C Morning Show, everyone. It is 20 to 9 in the a.m. and time for a quick sports recap, beginning with some tennis updates where Aryna Sabalenka defended her Australian Open title from first-timer Zheng Qinwen 6-3 and 6-2 in the Saturday women's singles final. The world number 2 lifted her first Grand Slam trophy at Melbourne Park 12 months ago and has been untouchable this past fortnight. She did not drop a single set in 7 matches and defeated Zheng 6-3 and 6-2 to become the first player since Victoria Azarenka to claim back-to-back titles 11 years ago. Meanwhile, on the opposing side, Zheng did not face a top 50 player through the first 6 rounds and was hoping that she could emulate Li Na to claim the title for China. In fact, it was Sabalenka who wrapped up victory in 76 minutes despite a brief disruption from pro-Palestine protesters. Meanwhile, Zheng becomes the first player to reach a slam final without facing a seeded opponent this century. In addition, the low rankings of her opponents made it a huge step up for her. Sabalenka, meanwhile, has ridden emotional highs and lows throughout her career, and she could have more than one slam title in 2023 had she not lost to Karolina Muchova, Ons Jabeur, and Coco Gauff. The latter came in the U.S. Open final after Sabalenka dominated the first set. However, she has consistently performed well in this year's Australian Open and claimed a much-needed win over Coco Gauff in the semifinals. Still from the Australian Open, where top-seeded Renata Jamrichova claimed the junior girls singles title, while Japan's Rei Sakamoto defeated Jan Kumstad of the Czech Republic to win the junior boys title. Jamrichova claimed the title after defeating 15-year-old Emerson Jones 6-4 and 6-1 on Saturday. She made 6 aces and saved 5 of 6 break points to clinch her first Grand Slam singles titles in just over an hour. The 16-year-old Slovakian also enjoyed relative success last year as she won the junior doubles titles at Melbourne Park and went on to the semifinals of the juniors tournament in both the Wimbledon and the U.S. Open. Meanwhile, the 4th-seeded Rei Sakamoto rallied from a set down to beat Jan Kumstad 3-6, 7-6, and 7-5 to win the Australian Open Junior Boys Singles title on Saturday. The 17-year-old had to withstand 25 aces from his big serving Czech opponent. Nonetheless, he found a way to reclaim momentum after losing the first set to win the title in 2 hours and 11 minutes. And Sakamoto now becomes just the 2nd Japanese player to win a junior boys Grand Slam Singles Cup after Shintaro Mochizuki did it at the 2019 Wimbledon tournament. Moving on to some football news, Joao Pedro's hat-trick sent Brighton through to the FA Cup round of 16 as the club confidently defeated Sheffield United 5-2. Meanwhile, non-league side Maidstone pulled one of the greatest upsets in FA Cup history as they defeated Ipswich Town.
Joao Pedro's hat-trick sent Brighton through the 5th round of the FA Cup as the club beats Sheffield United 5-2. Pedro scored twice from the spot and sent an 18-yard drive after Facundo Buonanote's fine goal launched the Seagulls into an early lead. Meanwhile, Danny Welbeck scored the winning goal just near the final whistle. Although the Blades battled back from 2-0 down, it was not enough. Both sides were beaten semi-finalists last year's competitions, but it is Roberto De Zerbi's side who dreams on another cup run, while Sheffield focuses on trying to avoid relegation in the Premier League. Meanwhile, non-league side Maidstone pulled off one of the greatest upsets in the FA Cup, when Sam Quorn downed Ipswich Town with a 66-minute winner in the 4th round on Saturday. Quorn had been the hero in the round 3 against Stevenage and further etches his name into Stone's folklore with a fine second-half finish to send George Elokobi's National League South side into the 5th round of the competition. Goalkeeper Lucas Covolan made a string of saves before Lamar Reynolds executed a lob that opened the scoring for Maidstone at the 43rd minute. Although Jeremy Sarmiento leveled for Ipswich, at the start of the second half it was not enough to save the Sky Bet Championship club from defeat, since Quorn netted the winning goal with 24 minutes left. The 6th-tier side can now continue their fairy tale run in the competition.
And in other football news, Bayer Leverkusen head coach Xabi Alonso said on Friday that he is not considering the option to become Liverpool's next manager amidst the shocking announcement of Jurgen Klopp exiting Liverpool by the end of the season, and also insisted that Germany is the perfect fit for him. The former Reds midfielder is one of the early frontrunners to replace Jurgen Klopp in Anfield after the German announced that he will be leaving the club at the end of the season. Alonso, who also enjoyed great success with Liverpool, is currently making a name for himself as one of Europe's top coaches. This obviously follows his success in guiding Leverkusen to a 4-point lead at the top of the Bundesliga standings.
It was a surprise, but as well, you know, I have huge respect for Jurgen, huge admiration. Before coming to Liverpool and during his year, it has even been bigger and it has grown. No, the way what he has achieved and the way he has achieved that. And at the moment, I am really happy here. I am enjoying my work here. I am feeling that each day it's a challenge. Each game is a challenge, and we are in an intense but a beautiful journey here in Leverkusen, and I am trying to give my best to help my players be ready for the next thing, and that's my goal. What will come in next one, I don't know.
And for football, let's shift our attention to some basketball updates from the NBA as Luka Doncic broke a record and scored a franchise record 73 points, which ties him for the 4th most in NBA history and surpassed only by Wilt Chamberlain and Kobe Bryant to power the Mavericks to a 148-143 victory over the Atlanta Hawks on Friday.
His offense and the Hawks' offense.
Luka Doncic blew past his own personal best and team record 60 points after scoring a team record 41 points in the first half alone. His record night came only 4 days after Philadelphia's Joel Embiid scored a franchise record 70 points, then the most in the NBA this season, in the 76ers' 133-123 win over the San Antonio Spurs on Monday night. A three-point play with 3 minutes remaining gave Doncic 70 points to tie Embiid, and with Dallas leading 140-136, Doncic added another three-point play to cap off his amazing night. Against the team that originally drafted him in 2018, Doncic joined Chamberlain and David Thompson among players who scored 73 points in NBA history. Chamberlain, who owns the outright NBA record with 100 points, also had a 78-point game, while Kobe Bryant finished with 81 points against the Toronto Raptors on January the 22nd of 2006. The Mavericks were able to ride Luka Magic's big game to end their 3-game losing streak, while handing the Hawks their 4th consecutive loss.
We've been struggling lately. Mindset was get a win. We played great. We struggled a little bit on defense, but we played great offense.
Was there a point in tonight's game where you knew this was a special one for you?
No, I was just going, whatever the defense give me. In the second half, they double me all the time, so I tried to make some plays. Then sometimes I would just break the double. So just seeing the game. Probably on the top, one of the top, But yeah, I'm glad we got a win.
And now you can catch a breath. Thank you, Luka.
Thank you.
All right, that wraps up our sports recap. We have to take one final break here on the C Morning Show, but do stick around. We have more entertainment for you coming up next.
China Earthquake Network Center reported that the quake rocked the Ertupen County in Aksu Prefecture shortly after 2 a.m. local time.
Minister January Makamba was a guest in one of our news programs, a 3-hour news show yesterday. While he was in the studio, he used the opportunity to explain the current state of diplomatic ties between Tanzania and Indonesia.
Indonesian Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi addressed the UN Security Council during an open debate in New York.
Ini adalah open debate Dewan Keamanan PBB ketiga mengenai Gaza dalam 3 bulan terakhir dan Indonesia hadir di ketiganya.
Indonesian Foreign Affairs Minister Retno Marsudi addressed the UN Security Council during an open debate in New York.
Ini adalah open debate Dewan Keamanan PBB ketiga mengenai Gaza dalam 3 bulan terakhir dan Indonesia hadir di ketiganya.
Welcome back to Spotlight, ladies and gentlemen, where we bring you guys some of the sports that you guys can go play here in Indonesia.
Handball karena masih baru, tadi kita harus bisa juga mempopulerkan ini kepada masyarakat sampai ke bawah.
We do it from scratch at the time because we don't know ice hockey, how to play, how to develop, how to manage this sport.
You don't have to be good with your foot. You can just dribble the ball and just throw it to the full ball.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this atmosphere. Woo! Heading to Gili Trawangan. And this special episode, I already prepared myself for an adventure on the island, which in the top of the list to visit. And this is the travel note because life is dope.
Their existence is now being critically endangered.
Dia memiliki ekor yang sangat panjang, lebih panjang, jauh lebih panjang daripada badannya sendiri.
Tekniknya dia keluar, dia itu bergelombol, menggunakan punggung temannya untuk naik.
Sebenarnya konservasi burung hantu di sini latar belakangnya jelas asas manfaat. Jadi kita pengen melestarikan burung, melestarikan satwa, tapi juga otomatis dampaknya ke masyarakat yang khususnya sekarang kalau di sini kan petani.
All right, guys, let's get into our first update for today.
Meanwhile, a plume of smoke was seen billowing in the distance from Rafah in the Gaza Strip on Saturday, marking the 11th week of humanitarian crisis in Palestine.
Mount Anak Krakatau continues to erupt, spewing volcanic materials up to 300 meters high.
Sri Mulyani Indrawati said that Indonesia has minimized taking debt to meet the needs of the 2023 state budget until the end of the year.
And
everyone. Welcome back to the C Morning Show. It's time for the final segment of today for the C Morning Show, beginning with medical examiners who recently confirmed that former General Hospital star Tyler Christopher died from positional asphyxia due to acute alcohol poisoning.
The U.S. soap opera star, who was best known for portraying Nicholas Cassadine on ABC's long-running daytime TV soap opera, died at his home in San Diego in October last year.
Previously, the General Hospital star Maurice Beard said that Tyler had died of a heart attack. However, a medical examiner's office report revealed that he died from positional asphyxia due to acute alcohol poisoning.
Authorities also said that a condition called coronary artery atherosclerosis, where plaque built up in the arteries, contributed to his death.
Tyler's passing was ruled as accidental since he suffocated while being intoxicated. The TV star often struggled with alcohol abuse and was arrested and charged with public drunkenness in 2019.
All right, let's shift our attention to some music-related news now, as Billy Joel is slated to perform at this year's Grammys, which is scheduled for February the 4th. He now joins the likes of Billie Eilish, Burna Boy, Dua Lipa, Luke Combs, and Olivia Rodrigo, along with Travis Scott, to perform at this prestigious annual event.
The 74-year-old singer and songwriter who made his Grammy stage debut in 1988 with New York State of Mind will take to the stage yet again for the 66th annual Grammy Awards. Joel is a 5-time winner and Grammy legend, will make his first performance in the prestigious event since 1994. Audiences have also positively responded to the announcement of the Piano Man's return to the Grammys.
Additionally, Joel revealed that he will release his first new single in more than a decade. Turn the Lights Back On will be his first new single since 2007 and his second solo single since 1993. It is scheduled for release on February the 1st, just 3 days before his Grammys performance.
Timing is everything, and the 66th Grammy Awards will be aired live from Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles, California on Sunday, February the 4th at 8 p.m. local time. We'll be catching it in the morning, as we always do on Monday.
Yes, on Monday
While
morning.
we're trying to get through the C Morning Show, we're trying to figure out who the winners are.
Online, exactly. Time different. So, speaking about the music, we know that music industry, especially in K-pop, has been changing rapidly in the last 3 decades.
Indeed, there are new things every day with new comebacks or even new groups, such as Vicha, who made their official debut by releasing a music video.
That's new. New K-pop group Vicha is composed of 6 members from JYP Entertainment and Republic Records. They're leading the new global pop race with international members and is en route to generating the first American artist with the K-pop system.
Vicha began with a bold vision outlined by JYP founder J.Y. Park and Republic Records founder Monte Lipman. The global K-pop group was formed through the survival show A2K. They made their first pre-debut single, 7th, or New Light, which was released last year on September the 22nd.
The group made their official debut just a couple days ago with the single and music video Girls of the Year, which is an upbeat bubblegum pop anthem with catchy tunes. Girls of the Year embodies the essence of Vicha's mission to empower new generations of fans who are not as bound or preoccupied by cultural, language, and national barriers.
So I'm familiar with this is part of the
right,
Love.
right? Yeah.
What's this?
Love too.
It looks like ears.
Yeah, it does look like ears, doesn't it?
Like
Yeah.
mouse ears.
Yeah.
Like in a
I'm not familiar with this. This is new to me. See? She's doing it right there.
You can see it right there.
Because of the concept that they bring, Language barriers, sign barriers.
Could be. Very, very.
Signpost barriers. I don't know.
I can do this one.
Thank
Oh,
you
yeah,
so much for giving us.
There we go. That's
No, I like to do that.
Yeah, kind of cute, yeah. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. German supermodel, actress, and singer Heidi Klum recently released a new single by teaming up with producer Tiesto.
Okay, everyone, get your sunglasses out.
Heidi Klum has expanded her musical catalog with a Club Ready remake of the hit Sunglasses at Night, with help from her longtime friend Tiesto. The remix will be the title track for the upcoming season of Germany's Next Top Model, scheduled to start airing on February 16. The song is a modern-day update to Heart's 1983 new wave song. It follows Klum's previous releases Chai Tea with Heidi in 2022 and Wonderland in 2006.
I was not aware that Heidi Klum could sing.
I didn't know. Now we know who is the guest star for the halftime show because Tiesto will going to perform.
Right. He's going to bring her
Heidi Klum will perform. Thank you for you spill it out.
You heard it here first. Today exclusive. Anyway, that last bit of news wraps up our entertainment segment, and that entertainment segment wraps up our entire program, as it has almost been 3 hours that you have joined us on this beautiful Sunday morning for this episode of the C Morning Show on C Today. Make sure while we're not connected on the air that you're still following us through our social media accounts. We're on either Instagram, x.com, and YouTube. You can find us at C Today News.
Indeed, and C Today can now also be enjoyed in Australia on Foxtel's OTT platform, Flash app, or Macau Cable TV Channel 84. Or, if you're in the Philippines, you can also watch the Converge Vision Channel 58, and in Singapore, the Singtel Singapore Channel 15.
For Telkomsel users, you can also watch C Today on the Maxstream app. Don't forget to also tune in again tomorrow, same time, same channel, and be sure to also catch our afternoon show every day at 5 p.m. My name is Shafira.
I'm Paul Palelli.
And I am Sati Permesi, and together the three of us would like to say,
see Indonesia, see the world, see today.
Happy Sunday.
Hello guys, welcome back with me, Chef Raihan, only on Satisfactory. Cook healthy and cook happy. And today, I'm gonna make some salsa stick with garlic toast. And we have all ingredients in here. We have avocados, onions, some of lemonade, and here we had rosemary, some pepper, tomatoes, butter. For the dough, we need some sourdough, some of steak cut. Okay, so let's go cooking it. First thing to do, we need to marinate the meat, the steak. We dry it. Okay, and then we just need